What the
They're
fuck
trying
is
to
this
raise
playing tournament?
they're trying to raise the TV ratings right now, Harrison, because they're hoping that that next TV deal after 2024 is going to be worth an excess of $75 billion. So they're trying to get them ratings up, which if you really want me to be honest with you, like I said, I made a video about this on about a couple of days ago when it came to the World Series, because the World Series was like the lowest rated World Series in history. So, and like I said, this is peak seasons for football, hockey's going on. It's too much. People are not focused on basketball primarily at this point. Now,
Mm-hmm.
after football season, during like bowl season, where the Drinking Soda Bowl or the Blockbuster Bowl or the Cheese Bowl or stuff like that, that's when people start really paying attention to basketball during the bowl seasons. But you're not going to get your peak audience during garbage time at the beginning of the season.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna lie, this is turning the NBA is overrated to extremely overrated.
I mean, they have, like I said, they're trying to find a way to increase those ratings. So when that TV contract comes out, they can get those $75 billion, because the TV contracts with TNT are expiring, and not to mention for that play for the in season tournament, for the NBA Cup, I will say, it's the pool is worth $18 million. So they even throwing in an extra bonus for the NBA players on top of the money they're already making. So yeah. That's how
Jesus.
desperate they are right now for the ratings.
All right,
And
go ahead,
isn't it
PSP.
and isn't it for before we start for the NBA, if they win, the team who wins the in season tournament, they get like a $500,000 reward. But the
Yeah,
runner up,
that's the
go ahead.
coaches. The
Oh yeah,
coaches
that's
get
the
that.
coaches.
The
But the
coaches, the
coach,
players get the $18 million pool.
mm-hmm. And the coaches they get a $200,000 if they're the runner ups, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway, folks, welcome to another episode of the Sports PSP podcast. Sorry I couldn't do it last night, but because of some issues, hey, we here. Got my boys here, Harrison. How you doing, Harrison?
I've been chilling. Can't wait to start school in the spring. Can't believe the Panthers got the first win. Feels so good, and yeah, and I can't wait to get this thing underway.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I got my man, undisputed world champ. Go follow him on TikTok and IG, folks. Go follow him. He's great with his content, football, basketball. How you doing, man?
Go Dogs. Big victory today
Oh yes,
against
they had a
Mizzou.
big one. And by the way, that big fella caught that interception. Man, I thought he was gonna run it in for that TD though.
I wanted him to run it in for that TD. I was trying to run as much time off that clock as I could. That was
Mm-hmm.
another heart attack game.
Mm-hmm. And folks, if y'all want to hop on the podcast, sent in the StreamYard, and also give a quick shout out to my man Mitch Kofsky. Go check out his podcast as well. And thank you, my man. Congratulations on 1K, bro. Yes, it is official. Sports PSP has now made it to 1,000. It's been a long time, but finally I'm here and I'm happy. Now it's just something better. I'm gonna continue to do whatever I can to get to where I want to go. Thank you to everyone: Champ, Harrison, Brandon from the block, Kenny, Maria, Broad. The list goes on and on. I have an awful lot to thank, and of course the Grid Network as well. Want to appreciate everyone for helping me. Appreciate it, y'all. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem. Thank you for having us on here, brother.
Oh, I gotta have you on the show. Once I heard your knowledge and wisdom, I'm like, I gotta bring this cat over to the podcast as well. And of course, we can't ignore Leaf too. As crazy
Yeah.
as Leaf is, we can't forget him. And of course, the Hoopsters podcast with Casual, and then go follow and like and subscribe to their podcast. But let's talk about some NBA. Boy, Victor Wembanyama.
Amazing.
38 points, 10 rebounds against the Phoenix Suns. Champ, I'm going to start with you, man. How good can Victor Wembanyama be?
Like I said, his ceiling is Tim Duncan even better.
Mm-hmm.
I really think under the watchful eye of Greg Popovich and that organization, like the San Antonio Spurs, he can reach unbeatable heights, because this is just what he's doing at 19. He doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have the real NBA weight on him yet. As we know, it's a difference between the weight he's at now and that real NBA weight he's gonna have to, that more than likely he's gonna put on as time goes along. He's only 19 at this point, and right now they're even talking about them making it to the play-in at this point at this time.
It's possible.
So
San
yeah,
Antonio's
it's a
been looking
great
pretty
possibility. Yeah. So he is special thus far. I truly hope that we do not get robbed of his greatness. And I'm crossing my fingers a lot. I truly hope that we don't get robbed of his greatness like we did with Yao Ming and guys like Sam Bowie and people of that, and even the great Bill Walton. I hope we do not get robbed of their greatness and only get partial greatness because of his height and his inability to stay healthy. I truly hope that we see him, much like we saw LeBron and Kareem and guys of that stature. I hope that I can see him for the next 20 years and get to see him grow. And quite frankly, much like I was with LeBron James when he came out, when I was merely in high school, he was in high school. I'm just excited to be a part of this new NBA with the European players. All of them are talented, but I can't say his name correctly. Victor
Wembanyama.
Wembanyama. It's that Southern accent thing. Victor Wembanyama. He's special, and I'm just excited to see it. He is special. He's a special talent.
He certainly is, and man, I mean, there are a lot of comparisons between him and KD. A lot of other big guys. To your credit, champ, I hope he doesn't end up like with Greg Oden. And it's sad, man, because Greg Oden, drafted #1 overall out of OSU, injuries and stuff like that. And you also mentioned other big men as well, Yao Ming, Sam Bowie, and stuff like that. I hope that's not the case with Victor Wembanyama. But at 19 years old, dude got it. Dude certainly has it. It would not be a surprise he makes the All-Star team this year.
It wouldn't surprise me because, like I said, when you are already talented, you're already talented. You've already played pro ball on a high level in the foreign leagues. And as you know, unlike us in the American leagues with the AAU basketball and some of the school basketball that we play over here, they are very, very huge on fundamentals. And they invest in their youth. So with him developing his skills already at a pro level and taking it to the next level with the NBA, like I said, he's going to be, especially with the watchful eye of a Greg Popovich. In my opinion, there's two coaches in NBA history. If you don't succeed up under them, you didn't want to succeed. And that's Greg Popovich and Larry Brown. If you don't succeed under those two guys, you must didn't want to succeed, because I don't care how troublesome you are, how many injuries you have, they are going to get the very, very best out of you. Larry Brown got the best out of Danny Manning and got the Los Angeles Clippers in the playoffs. And got him not to mention got him traded to my Atlanta Hawks and got him a huge contract. So if you don't succeed under those two coaches, you didn't want to succeed at the NBA level, because you just can't help but to succeed under the watchful eye of a Greg Popovich or a Larry Brown.
Got my boy Casual in the building. How you doing, Casual?
Yo. It's a Saturday night, and I'm at work right now talking hoops to y'all, so that's how it's going.
Hey, listen, I let you know that I was going to do the podcast tonight. I wasn't going to do it Friday night because I had to take care of some things, but I let you know.
No, man, you do not owe me no explanation, man. It is not a problem.
No, it's all good, but we just here talking about Wemby. He put on a show against the Suns, 38-10. What did you thought about his performance? Because I know we all know you watch basketball. How good do you think Wemby can be?
Oh, I think Wemby is already a generational talent. I think where he could, well, not where he could be, where he's going to be is the best player in the world, and it'll be fairly quickly, for superstar standards. Within the next 4 years, we're going to be having a conversation with him being the best player in the world. Yeah, the thing about it is, it's not necessarily the fact that he's 7'4". It's not even the fact that he's a 7'4" and able to shoot. We've seen that before. We saw that with Kristaps Porzingis. It's the fact that he is able to operate on multiple areas on the floor, cover ground so well defensively.
Mm-hmm.
His athleticism, and for the ones that think that like he could be knocked off his game with physicalness, I like to reference you to the physical defense that the Phoenix Suns was running on Wembanyama late in the game. And Wembanyama basically just said, "Okay, so if you're gonna bump me out inside of here, I'm gonna bring you outside to where if you do get physical with me, I'm going to get those calls." And him having that ability makes his game like once as he starts to figure out his ability to be able to use his scoring gravity more, it's going to make it that much harder to guard him. And
Mm-hmm.
mixing that in with his defensive value, which I think already he's showing to be like a top tier defender, if not anything, a rim protector. I think it's going to be like fairly clear that he's a number one player in the world.
Yeah, he definitely has a lot of potential, man. At 19 years old, the way he can handle the ball, he can definitely stretch the
Hmm.
floor and shoot, and how he's so versatile as an athlete and how he can guard. Sky's the limit for him. And once he gets to 22, 23, once he starts developing more of his man body, man, he's going to be in that conversation for best player, man. He's definitely going to
Give
be
me
in
one
that
second. One
conversation.
second.
Hmm?
I said 1 second. 1 second.
Oh, 1 second. But Harrison, did you watch the game from Wemby, and what are your thoughts about him so far?
His pronouns. He's him. Doesn't know what Cheeros are.
What?
He doesn't know what Cheeros are. You know, like the fucking candy.
Churros?
Yeah.
Uh, well, he needs to go hang out with Charles Barkley.
But I just think back what I was saying. His pronouns. He's him. Dude, 19 years old, playing like a stud, and he pretty much he owned KD in that game. Like not once, but I think pretty much twice, right? I think
Yes.
he owned him twice.
Yeah,
Jeez,
they won.
but
They won Tuesday night, in which Phoenix had like had a lead, but then they blew it in the fourth quarter, and then the second game it wasn't even close. Wemby, man, it's just he's phenomenal, man.
all I'm gonna say is if he could try to stay healthy for let's just say for next probably 6 years, hopefully he does not get hurt. That's all we gotta hope for. Because even though Victor Wembanyama is a rookie, this dude has it's pretty much their whole entire franchise now. After the whole entire after the Tony Parker, Tim Duncans, and just like now you got yourself a franchise for the next 20 years now.
Yeah, but the
But
Spurs, they got some nice young pieces though. They
Mhm.
really got some nice young pieces, and I think Popovich, what better situation could you be in with that coach, that organization, and with guys like Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, all of them in the Basketball Hall of Fame to help you out as well on and off the court. But the sky's the limit for him. Let's talk about
Hold
another
on, let me
game.
say something. Let me say something.
Oh,
About
go
this.
ahead, Harrison.
You know from the movie Space Jam with Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Remember Michael Jordan's freaking slam dunks his arm extended. That's pretty
Yes.
much fucking.
Yeah.
That's pretty much Victor Wembanyama.
I mean, he 7'4" with that type of wingspan. That's gonna do something.
Bros could be ducking grocery
Mm-hmm.
stores, for the fucking doors and shit.
But anyway, let's talk about another great game I witnessed. Did y'all watch that Warriors Thunder game?
Yeah, that last minute layup by Steph Curry.
Yeah, it was a great game offensively. I love the ball movement from both teams. Warriors, they can still compete. When I look at the Thunder, they got a nice young squad with Giddey, Williams, Chet Holmgren. I was very impressed with the playmaking. He made some nice, beautiful post move. I mean, and Laurent and Dort played well. He was hitting the threes. He was playing well. Yes, Champ, you mentioned that late play by Steph Curry with the bucket. Did you thought it was basket interference on the part of the Warriors?
To be honest with you, I didn't think that, but I thought it was clean, but I tried to watch it from many different angles in order to see. I rewound about 5,000 times, and I'm exaggerating, but only slightly. But I tried to see, and I don't really think that. I mean, it looked clean to me.
Okay. Casual, are you there? No, he said 1 second.
Un momento.
All right. Just take your time, and when you're ready, just let me know. All right. But Harrison, what's your thoughts about the Warriors Thunder game? If you watched it by any chance?
I didn't watch it. I just saw this on TikTok. He was trying to do a game recap on the Warriors and the Thunder. Yeah, what you said about the Thunder, Chet Holmgren, that dude's a dog. I mean, Williams from Arkansas. I loved him in college when he was with Arkansas when he played against Duke. He's really good. Dude, and also what's his name? SGA, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I think, yeah, what you said. I think they have a future ahead. I think, could they win the NBA Finals? No, but I think they have a shot to make in the play-in tournament? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they could try to go. They could try to make the NBA playoffs. I think it might be crazy to say that. Do you think the Thunder might make the NBA playoffs?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean,
I think they
they
can
can
make the
make the
play
play
in.
in tournament. They'll make the play in tournament. We saw them do it last year,
Mm-hmm.
and I think with Chet healthy, I think is going to intensify their chances. So we gotta wait and see with that one. But when you look at Chet, 28, 24, 8 and 5, very efficient. Only took 9 attempts, 7 and 9, 2 of 2 from the 3-point range, 8 of 8 from free throws. Dort, Dort played great. I mean, 29 points, 9 of 12. He was 5 of 7 from the free throw line. Missed a crucial free throw late in the game, but perfect from 3-point range, 6 of 6. If you just look at the game, Golden State, they shot 45% from the three. Oklahoma City, they shot 51.7% from the three. It was really excellent. Even Draymond Green, he played well too. I mean, he got you 15, 5, and 3. You also look at Steph Curry, 30 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. It was a great offensive game. It was fun. It was exciting to watch, man.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Casual.
Yeah.
I know you watched the Warriors Thunder game. What were your thoughts about the game?
Oh, you know I did. I'm a OKC stan.
I didn't know that.
Fantastic game. Yeah. So backstory. I fell in love with basketball when I was 12 years old, and the OKC had just drafted Russell Westbrook and switched over to Oklahoma City Thunders rather than
Right.
Super Bowl, not Super Bowl, Supersonics.
Yeah.
And so I was watching them, and KD averaged 30, and Westbrook turned into like a 23-8 guy, and Harden coming off the bench giving you 21-6. And I was just like, this is the team that I love. And so I was riding with OKC up until Westbrook's trade.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm a diehard OKC fan at heart. Even when I'm not necessarily, rooting for them, I'm still rooting for them. So watching them these last couple of seasons, like, I'm in love with them. But them up against the Thunder, not the Thunder, the Warriors. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't think that they would be that competitive, especially with the way that Curry is playing and the way that the offense is playing rather fluid with Chris Paul coming off the bench. But here's what I didn't see coming. I didn't see Dortz not missing any threes.
He was 6.
I didn't see that.
6.
Yeah, I didn't see that happening at all. I was like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. That has to be like an anomaly, because Dortz for the last like 2 seasons has been like a mid to bad 3-point shooter. So I was like, that can't be right. But that's who he was last night. And on top of that, Josh Giddey, don't let the 6 turnovers fool you. I was just happy that he was aggressive, because along with that 6 turnovers, it wasn't like he was like a net negative. He gave you 18 points, a rather efficient 18 points.
And he had a +4.
Yeah, and he was he you know he also grabbed you about 5 rebounds. Not giving you much on the defensive end, but when you have a rim protector like Chet Holmgren behind you and Jalen Williams and Luke Dort, like you'll be just fine. And I want to also say this, I'm very proud of the way that they approached that game, even without Shea playing. They had all the reason in the world to just sort of book it. It's an in-season tournament. In theory, nobody really gives a shit about this in-season tournament unless you're like a role player that can use that 500K. But from the starting tip all the way to the end, Chet Holmgren, Josh Giddey, Dortz, what's my guy's name off the bench? Isaiah Joe. They all approached it like they needed to, like a true playoff team is going to need to approach it. Like these are the games that you're supposed to get up for. I don't care what situation you're in, and I'm very proud of them for the way that they approached it. This is a playoff team. I want you guys to understand that regardless of this loss, this is a playoff team. They're going to the playoffs. They're not a play-in team. They are for real, and they are here to stay.
I think you should be very proud as a Thunder fan because for them to be that competitive without Shea. Also, what did you think about that last controversial play? Did you thought it was basket interference on the Warriors' part, Cash?
I did, but at the same time, like I thought it was on one hand. The reason why I thought that I think they overturned it. On one hand, I think it was a basket interference because he did touch the ball, but on the same token, you could also say it's a foul because I believe Josh Giddey was behind him and he sort of pushed his arm.
Yeah.
So I think
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think on one hand, if you want to give it a basket interference, on the flip side, the Warriors could also say that was a foul.
Nah.
You know, so to sort of like combat it, I guess like you sort of have to overturn it just from the standpoint of like let's be fair. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a bucket. That was a bucket. So, and not to mention the way that Curry played. If they lost that game due to like that point not counting, Draymond was probably gonna hear about it for like the next 2 weeks. So good thing that they turned it over for his sake.
We got my boy Dev in the building. Also, go check out his stuff as well. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. You know, I'm a Thunder and Hawks guy. We got cheated. I don't care what none of y'all say. That is a back interference by rule. And that is by rule. This is the NBA by rule. He touched the guy that shouldn't have counted. And guess what? The Warriors struggled with us without even having SGA. They struggled to beat the Kings without De'Aaron Fox. This team looks like the last year Minnesota Vikings. That's what this Warriors team is looking like. That's my take right now.
So you know I don't know any football.
So essentially what you're saying is let me help you out, Casual. So essentially what you're saying is, Dev, you're saying that the Warriors are frauds?
I'm not gonna call them completely frauds, right? But the problem is the Warriors team. Here's the issues I still see with the Warriors team in a playoff setting. Are they better than last year? Yes, 100%, because the chemistry's better. They don't have the awkwardness between Jordan Poole and Draymond, and they're actually winning road games. But I still don't like the inconsistencies from other players shooting wise, and it's just being Steph. Because if Steph's your only guy that can get a bucket consistently in an offensive juggernaut, it's not gonna work. Because we see in the playoffs, you throw bodies at him, and like if you can slow down the Warriors, if Klay keeps shooting inconsistently, if Chris Paul and Draymond minutes didn't look the best. Chris Paul still hasn't been getting his buckets as he once was. He is a good playmaker off the bench. And it also still depends on the jump Moody and Kuminga take. If Moody and Kuminga still progressing, then my thoughts on Warriors will change. But then again, it is still early in the season. The reason why I'm calling them frauds because I'm a salty Thunder fan. I'll be honest.
I was about to say, there's no way. Everything you're saying is like the case for like the majority of the league. Anybody that goes up against the Nuggets, if you have one superstar, like the Los Angeles Lakers, have the same problem. You only have one player in LeBron James that can competently create his shot consistently in an offensive set.
I'm so mad when they lost, bro. I'm so mad we lost. I'm just being salty right now.
Yeah, I know.
Nah, but you're right though.
I didn't know Casual was an OKC fan, but thank you for that story, Casual. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let me ask Casual something if you don't mind.
Go ahead, champ.
Yo, what's up, gang?
You're an OKC fan / Seattle Supersonics fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is it safe to say if you guys had more championships, you will be considered one of the greatest drafting teams of all time, right up there with San Antonio? Because if you think about the history of the Seattle Supersonics / the Oklahoma City Thunder, you drafted some flat out studs. You drafted Dennis Johnson. You drafted Wayne Siakam. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. You drafted the great Sean Kemp. You drafted Gary Payton. Then moving up into the 2000s, you
Don't
drafted
forget
three
about
Hall of
Desmond
Fame.
Mason. Desmond
Huh?
Mason.
They draft
Desmond
Ray
Mason.
Allen. Did Ray Allen get drafted, or was he drafted?
No, Ray Allen got drafted
You
by
got
the
traded.
Milwaukee
Milwaukee.
Bucks.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
he's
is it safe
drafted.
to say you guys are one of the most, and then now you have SGA and that up and coming team. Is it safe to say you guys are one of the best drafted teams in NBA history, and the only thing that you lack in order to back that up is championships? Is that safe to say?
Yeah.
I don't even think championships back are like holding us back. I think it's rather understood in the NBA community that the Oklahoma City Thunder / Seattle Supersonics is one of the greatest drafting teams that the league has ever had. Outside of, as you said, San Antonio Spurs, I don't think the Golden State Warriors have a horse truly in this race because outside of Steph, Clay, Draymond, and Harrison Barnes, they every other move that they've been able to get has been based off of like come ups. Like they've gotten made a trade for damaged goods and a player that panning out like an Andrew Bogut. You know, that's or even in I mean, you could give like the rope to Gilbert Arenas, but Gilbert Arenas didn't develop under Golden State. He developed under Washington. So I wouldn't say Golden State has a horse in this race. I think Oklahoma City is like pretty much solidified as like the best or second best drafting team of all time.
Can I add on to that too? I think with OKC, it's like, I don't think the championship back don't need to. I don't think you need championship to prove how good a draft you are because like it's the talent. I feel like showing how good a draft you are is how that player ends up and a value you get for that player. So like you get Kevin Durant, MVP, Russell Westbrook. I know how we feel about him. He's an MVP at the number 4 overall pick. James Harden, a guy who's a 6th man who ended up becoming MVP. Yes, he didn't end up staying in OKC, but we see how great of a player he is. We didn't draft SGA. We traded for him for the Paul George trade. But think about it now, look at this. We got Chet Holmgren. He coming off an injury, and look, you see how he's worthy the number 2 pick with the way he's playing this year. And now also we had, like you said, with the other pass legends in Gary Payton, Detlef, Sean Kemp. So I think the results, OKC, they always, and that's why people now, when they see OKC have all these draft picks, why they're so like valuable because they know OKC is great at drafting. And like look at the other guys. We got J Dub. They got Usman Dang, who's who could be he's a raw prospect who could turn out to something. Even the other J Dub, he's also a really good player. So they drafted, even though they haven't drafted all superstars, they drafted some solid players, solid role players, like solid guys. Serge Ibaka, Tavo Cephalosha, and the list can go on. So I think OKC is number 1 in my opinion due to the level of players. So like because they have the top heaviness in the MVP level players and the role players as well. So that's why I got them number 1.
Yeah, but I think San Antonio has a horse in this race simply based off of the generational development that they had and how it transcends the state of time. Like think about San Antonio is they started off with David Robinson. Well, no, scratch that. They started off with George Gervin. They started off with George Gervin, then transferred, went through a little bit of a funk, but they had the likes of like David Robinson, then moved into Avery Johnson, then moved to Bruce Brown, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Kawhi Leonard. Like the list could go on and on. You know what I'm saying? So like I think San Antonio, I would give them the first spot because it's not just the draft picks that you have, and it's not even about being top heavy. It's about how your drafting method transcends time. Like people wanted to mimic OKC, even in a certain way, mimic what San Antonio did back in the day for them to get as good as they did at drafting. So, yeah, I would give it to San Antonio, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I see your point because I think also it goes to coaching why those players develop the way they do because Popovich is one of the best talent seekers, and the best coach of all time. So like
He
they, I
didn't he
think.
didn't become that great. He didn't become that great coach that we know him to be today
Mhm.
until like 2007. No,
True.
2005. 2005. I'm sorry.
True, but I was also gonna say that that San Antonio does a good job of finding like hidden gems, and I think we'll give them credit that because they'll probably have a lot more hidden gems because you got Ginobili in the second round, and you had Tony Parker who was like a late first rounder, and you have other Kawhi Leonard who was he out the lottery? Well, yeah, he's like 15, 14, one of the two.
Yes, I think it was 15. And then
Yeah,
they
so I
changed it
think
out to Paul George.
15. He was drafted.
Kawhi
15.
was the 14th pick, I believe.
I think San Antonio does a better job of seeing the hidden potential in guys and developing them. And Manu Ginobili, he's a. I mean, we need to start putting him in more than top 10 shooting guard talks like all time, like at the bottom half. But that's another discussion for another time.
All right, let's talk about James Harden. Of
Ooh.
course, the
Y'all got it.
Clippers, they acquired James Harden in a blockbuster trade with the Philadelphia 76ers. It was reported by, of course, ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. I'm quite sure the Athletic Shams Charania. The 76ers sent Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philippe Prudzev. I hope I'm pronouncing the last name right. Last name right. If I misspoke, I apologize. To the Clippers for Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, KJ Martin, a 2028 unprotected first round pick, 2 second round picks, a 2029 swap, and an additional first round pick from the Oklahoma City Thunder. And also, the Clippers are sending a 2027 first round pick swap to Oklahoma City, clearing the way for the Thunder to move a protected 2026 first round pick to the 76ers. And the Clippers are sending a 2024-2029 second round pick to the Sixers in the deal too, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Casual, I'm gonna let you go first. What are your thoughts about the James Harden trade?
Real quick before I jump into it, OG, before we move on to NFL talk, I want to talk to you about that Greg Popovich and Larry Drew comment that you made about how if you don't
Larry Brown,
if you don't succeed, Larry Brown, I'm sorry. If you don't succeed under the tutelage of those two, then you're not successful. I wanna talk to you about that. But as far as the James Harden, Kawhi, Paul George, and Westbrook tandem, that's the most interesting team up that I have seen thus far, just because it makes sense in theory, right? Like if all of them is on the court, it makes sense because I believe Westbrook has been utilized for since he's been in a Clippers uniform, more of an off-ball threat. And it's been rather successful due to Tyron's loop fascination with running small ball lineups. But James Harden being ball dominant operates fairly well with this offense due to him being, fantastic in pick and roll situations, as you saw with last year's tandem of him and Joel Embiid. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are playing some of the best basketball that we've seen them play in, to be honest with you, a couple seasons now. It sounds like it should be like a dominant team. The problem is none of us believe it. It's not going to happen. The reason it's not going to happen is, one, all of these dudes outside of Russell Westbrook the last couple of seasons are injury riddled. James Harden has been dealing with that hamstring injury. It's been lingering for the last couple of seasons. Kawhi Leonard tore his ACL in the postseason, and he comes back and it just magically just disappears. I don't believe it. I think he's going to be taking some time off, so that hinders them. Paul George gets injured with knick-knack injuries left and right, and for some reason, nobody truly holds him super accountable for it. Not him per se, but him being injury prone. to like the standard that Kawhi is, because let's be honest, Paul George has been missing just as much time as Kawhi. Like if we want to keep it a stack, and so I think that is one thing, and then also, in theory, it should work with the way that Westbrook has been playing. But when you take into account the fact that Westbrook was doing this with also the mindset of him being able to run the second unit on top of playing off ball when playing with Kawhi and Paul George on the floor. But now you have James Harden, who is dominant in minutes, as you saw last season for the 76ers, now on the court. So that means 9 times out of 10, majority of the minutes he's playing with the second unit, James Harden is going to be there as well. And who do you truly want with the ball to make those decisions between Westbrook and Harden? I think it's been well understood for the last few years now. You want James Harden there. So how that affects Westbrook's mentality is a concerning question, because as we see, when Westbrook starts to feel some type of way, he starts to take it out on the team, in the sense of he starts to take some very questionable shots because he feels like he deserved those shots at some point, right? And so I'm looking at this team, and it just is filled out with in theories. In theory, this team should be the best team in the NBA, right? Like if all of these players are playing at their best, it should not be close. In theory, Tyronn Lue should have a smooth transition of integrating Harden, because Harden's main qualities is stuff that Tyronn Lue maximizes. You don't have to maximize something that's already maximized. So in theory, this team should be dominant. But they did all of this just to get swept by the Denver Nuggets. They just gutted their limb. That's the truth. That's the reality. And the reality also is James Harden is a playoff dropper. The reality is Russell Westbrook traditionally is a playoff dropper. The reality is Tyronn Lue is a small ball merchant. Reality is Paul George is like on and off like a light switch when it comes to him performing in the postseason. The reality is Kawhi Leonard probably is not going to play that much of this season, so the team chemistry between this team is going to be rocky leading into the postseason. Like that's the reality of this team. They did all of this just for them to get smoked in the second round by the Denver Nuggets.
To be honest with you, here's and feel free to kill me about this comment. I really feel like this. The Clippers got swindled in that deal, and they know they got swindled. But the thing is, that new stadium is opening up next year. Next year is going to be the first year that they're out of the the crypto arena with those Lakers. So they're trying to sell tickets on their own, and they're trying to pull straws out of the bag in order to stay relevant, in order to give diehard Clippers fans hope in Los Angeles. Because right now, it's a real question on if they're even the best team in Los Angeles at this point, much less one of the better teams in the West. So I think it's a real reach. I'm surprised that Jerry West pulled off that deal, especially the way he evaluates basketball, not only for what he did for my Los Angeles Lakers, but also what he did with the Golden State Warriors. I think it was a real reach at the straws. They have to sell the suites and the PSLs and the stadiums next year when they open up that new stadium that was the old Inglewood Forum Stadium. They have to give fans hope in order to fill up that arena, and I think that was an attempt in order to do that. I don't really think this team is going to win anything. If they get past this, if they get to the semifinals, I'd be surprised. Thus far, every move they've made in Los Angeles under Steve Ballmer, he had good intentions, of course, but it's really been a bust. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, bust. Then you try to add Westbrook, bust. I'm talking about because you're bringing in these guys in order to compete, not only to compete in the NBA, but to compete for that market that you have in Los Angeles. Because it's hard to pull Los Angeles Lakers fans who's going to go to Crypto Arena or Staples Center, showing my age, or Staples Center, to pull those fans away from there and bring them.
That was like 2 years ago, OG. You ain't showing
it. I'm about to say,
like 2 years ago.
It's been Staples Center for literally all our whole lives.
Yeah.
No, for real. If you showing your age, then I'm showing my age too, and I'm 25.
So
Dang.
they I really believe that they're trying to pull fans away from the Los Angeles Lakers and pull them away from their stadium. Now, I've seen the stadium designs, it's state of the art, it looks great. But like I said, you have to sell tickets for that.
Right.
And you have to sell fans hope in order to do that. I don't think they want to see that investment go to waste. And I think that right now, Clippers are pulling at straws. They're really pulling at straws because at this point, you can't beat Denver. It's a question on whether you could beat the Los Angeles Lakers or whether you could be the best team in Los Angeles. I mean,
Yeah, but I
beat...
don't.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I apologize.
go ahead, OG.
Are they even better
No.
than Memphis?
Go ahead, OG. I'm sorry. Go ahead, OG.
It's a question on whether you could beat the Kings or the Warriors. So, like I said, I think this is a big grasp for like, hey, we're trying to do everything we can. Come to the arena. We need people to come to the game. This is really just a show, if you ask me.
No, but I think OG. My problem with that thought process is, that's the case for the majority of this of the Western Conference right now. They're sort of in this dilemma of where they have certain qualities that you could see be able to knock off this team or that team, right? Every team except for the Denver Nuggets. They have qualities where you can see them being able to utilize their strength against this team and be able to knock them off. Like for Golden State, regardless of how fantastic they look, they still haven't answered the problem of them being relatively small. So if you put a large team like, let's say, I don't know, the Timberwolves against them, it becomes that much more of a possibility of them getting knocked out in the first round, right? If you see them going up against a Los Angeles Clippers team, which is set right now, that has the requisite pieces now with Harden to be able to utilize Kawhi and Paul George, they could be able to knock off the Warriors. In the Clippers case, they gutted their size. So same as the Warriors, if they go up against a team like, let's say, the Sacramento Kings, who have relatively like large people like Sabonis and them that could be able to bully them in the paint, it becomes that much taxing. If they go up against a team like the Timberwolves, it becomes that much taxing. The Lakers, that much taxing. So like I get what you're saying from the standpoint of the Clippers making this move, sort of grasping at straws, but that's sort of what the entire Western Conference is doing. If we're being quite honest with you, the Warriors made a trade, and rather than getting pieces that we all thought that Jordan Poole at least was valuable for, they made the trade and got Chris Paul of all players. That's the ultimate grasp for we need to win a championship now. All of these teams are doing that. So, like, I don't think it's fair to put the Clippers under fire when they're just playing the game that everybody else is, which is catching up to the Denver Nuggets. I was telling y'all this offseason, the Denver Nuggets are that much better than the rest of the league. And not saying UPSP or UOG, but a lot of the people that I was saying this to, they were laughing in my face because they were like, oh, you don't know LeBron wasn't healthy. And man, if they had more pieces, now they got more pieces. And the Dallas Mavericks, they didn't see Luka's pick and roll play and all of this stuff. And now y'all see what I'm saying when I say the Denver Nuggets are 10 leaps and bounds levels over most of these teams, all of these teams outside of the Boston Celtics. To be quite honest with you, these teams just don't have what it takes. So they're trying to gut everything, every strength that they have so that they can be as strong as possible in what they are good at, so that they can have a chance at pushing the Denver Nuggets to like a 7-game series where anything goes at that point. That's really what's happening right now.
Yeah. But is it safe to say that a lot of those players that the Los Angeles Clippers are reaching for, hey, James Harden has his history, Russell Westbrook has his history. Then you have the injury history with Kawhi and Paul George versus the move that they made with Chris Paul. A lot of people say it wouldn't make sense, but he's made every team greater that he's been on. It's just that he has to redefine his role in Golden State with some of the moves that the Lakers have made with getting Christian Woods and rearranging their roster and putting LeBron under some type of load management. Those moves, in fact, make sense. with this trade for James Harden, who has moved from team to team to team, has been a problem child on every team he's been to thus far. Especially, I don't know whether the common denominator is him or Daryl Morley at this point, because the last two teams he's been on was with Daryl Morley, especially in Houston and Philadelphia. But with those two, with this move that they're making, it's pretty much a super reach at this point, or like a very super reach. I don't
It's
think they
a
can with this team.
it's a super reach, but like James Harden is a top 35 player. So like you made the risk for putting your money.
We lose Casual?
I think he's lagging.
No. Can you hear me?
No, now
Yes.
we can hear you.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
my fault. I stepped off the app. But you made the risk for a top 60 player in Russell Westbrook. Why not bet your money on a top 35 player who averaged 20 and 10 and led like a top 5 offense with Joel Embiid? And what is the main problem that the Clippers that Kawhi Leonard specifically has been asking for? He's been requesting a player that is capable of getting the ball, like being able to properly get Kawhi and Paul George and the Clippers as a totality into their sets properly. And what does Harden do very well? He's able to set players up in the way that they want to be set up. So it makes all the sense in the world. The only question is a question that we always ask: is Kawhi and Paul George going to be on the floor? If they're on the floor, they're going to the second round. OG, I don't know why you would be surprised if they made it to the second round. They're better than basically every team but the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers in that sense. They're better than all of them. To be honest with you, if Paul George, Kawhi is on the floor and James Harden is there, the Phoenix Suns did all of that in the offseason for no reason. They did all of that just to go home because they're not beating the Clippers.
Dev, would you like to say anything regarding the James Harden trade? And you lost Dev. Harrison.
Damn, Dev.
Well, what happened? What happened? I just fell asleep.
Seriously? Come on, man.
No, I'm trolling. I'm just
What's your thoughts on James
I'm just
Harden
here
trade?
talking about James Harden. Just talking about what's the dude on First Things First said that is he mentally like the hard R?
Chris Broussard, yeah, he received a ton of controversy for that. In fairness to him, he did apologize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Using that terms.
Back well saying so what did they trade? A first round pick with Tyrese Maxey? Is that it, or I'm tripping?
No, the Philadelphia 76ers, they sent James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philippe Pruchasev to the Clippers for Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, KJ Martin, a 2028 unprotected first round pick, 2 second round picks, a 2029 pick swap, and an additional first round pick from the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh,
Jesus Christ! Oh,
I
God.
think. Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Dev. Go ahead, Dev.
No, you got it, Harrison.
No, you go.
Oh, so I hear what both Casual and Undisputed Champs both say. You guys may have some good points, but I think they're just going all in for the championship. I don't think this is a bad move for the Clippers because, I mean, you got rid of Rocco. I think that was a big loss. Well, Nicholas Batum was declining. Marquise Morris wasn't. It's just not a great player. He's not a good player anymore. He was living off a reputation of a defense, and he wasn't hitting his shots. He wasn't good anymore. And I think Russell Westbrook will be fine coming out the bench because he was doing that last year, and he likes the Clippers. I don't think and plus the Clippers just don't have the same expectations as like the Lakers or the Spotlight. He doesn't get thrashed or like treated the same as he was or slandered as he was on the Lakers. So I don't think Russell Westbrook will be affected by this at all. I think he'll be fine. And like even in clutch moments, I don't think he'll be in for clutch moments when you have Harden, Kawhi, PG and Kawhi have been playing really good basketball this season so far, especially Paul George. So and not only that, Undisputed Champ and Casual, the Clippers are used to being relevant. Let's be real. They're used to being relevant. So even regardless if they didn't make this move, I still don't think they're gonna have a lot of fans like that because LA will always be a Laker town. I just think that this move, like what Kyle said, you going all in, and it's not that bad of a move because Harden only has 1 year left on his contract, so you're not stuck with him. You don't have to bring him back. So it's like you might as well try it out one last hurrah, go all in to get the championship. Because right now the only team, the team to beat in the West is the Denver Nuggets, and the Clippers somehow, some way, if they could beat them with their magnitude to the wings, who can say they can't win a championship? But I think for Philly, they got Alva Harden. I think Philly, they are resetting. You have Embiid, Maxey. They have a new identity. I do think, depending how the season ends of Philly, that they could. I want to see Embiid get traded. For me personally, I will have my OKC Thunder to somehow get Embiid. We got some players to throw at him. We could trade J Dub.
I don't think Casual wants that.
Hey man, casual gonna. Hey man, casual. You might not want it, but I want it casual.
Wait, what do I not want?
Joel
Embiid.
to OKC, man. Give me
You've
that.
been on the record saying that Joel Embiid is massively overrated because of his drop off in the postseason. You respect him as a talent. You acknowledge he's one of the best bigs in the game, but you said he's massively overrated, especially in the playoffs. Because if we're gonna talk about drop offs, he's in that ballpark as well.
Hey.
Oh yeah, but if he goes to OKC, I have no problem because OKC. If he goes to OKC, barring them not giving up like the untouchables like Shea and Chet, they have a super team. OKC is the exact piece is the exact team that you would want Embiid on to make like a champ. It would be a championship move because in that sense, you would add an MVP caliber player on top of a top 10 talent in Shea, and they have the regular size to be able to beat up on a Denver Nuggets team, which their weakness is rim pressure, and Shea gives enough rim pressure. Joel gives enough rim pressure. Chet is showing so far to be able to give proper rim pressure. Yeah, that would be a W move actually. And even if Embiid drops off, I don't think Embiid would be like he's not playing with a James Harden where he also is a playoff dropper. Shea's game transfers well to the postseason. I don't know if you guys remember a couple years back when Shea was playing with CP3, he was able to get quality. Yeah, he was able to get. No, not the Clippers. When he played with Chris Paul.
Oh, the Thunder. I forgot the bubble. Thunder. Yeah, the bubble. I forgot that.
Exactly. And he played very well for that to be his second postseason, and he's gotten so much more better. And his game is relatively the same. He just improved on a few things like playmaking. So I think if they were the team to make the trade for Joel Embiid, I would say that is the definition of a championship move because they just turned themselves into a championship favorite.
Mm-hmm. I think with the James Harden trade, I knew he was going to be traded. This is what's going to happen. He and Daryl Morey. I mean, remember, he called Daryl Morey a liar. And to Dev's point, he's only there for like 1 year. I do think he'll help the Clippers out in terms of playmaking and passing because, to your point, Casual, Kawhi has wanted a point guard. He's wanted someone who could facilitate, and why not have James Harden to the mix? Is that going to result into winning a championship? No, because Kawhi's going to miss some games, and that's going to ruin or disrupt the chemistry. Paul George, he'll have a few moments in the playoffs, but he'll have some lackluster performances. We've already seen who James Harden is in the playoffs. I think, to Champ's point, yes, I think you could look at this from a standpoint they are, in a way, selling tickets because, again, they're going to move from, I don't care if they call it Crypto Arena, it's still, to me, Staples Center. Just like when Champ calls the Chargers, when they're called Los Angeles, they're still San Diego to me. So they're gonna move. So they're gonna move on. They're gonna head to the new stadium or new arena. I think it's a way. I think it's gonna help as far as playmaking. It's gonna help with tickets, but is it gonna result into championships or anything like that? No. As for Philadelphia, I see them making the playoffs. They may get to the conference semis, but that's about it. That's all I really see regarding the Harden trade. Harrison, anything you want to say before we move on to NFL?
All I'm gonna say is I have nothing, man. I just think that I think the Sixers fleeced the Clippers. I don't
All
know.
right.
I'm ready to
Anyway,
move on to football. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
All right. Casual, if you want to stick around to some football, I know football is not your forte or
Wait,
your
I
love.
got smoke for OG real quick.
Go ahead, real quick. Go ahead.
The reason why I don't agree with you that Greg Popovich and
Larry
and I
Brown.
forget his name, Larry Brown. Damn, he's old. I don't agree with you that Larry Brown and Greg Popovich are that caliber of coaches. Not to the way that you're saying it. They are the two greatest coaches of all time. But I think putting the onus on like a player to be able to develop under them under all circumstances, I feel like that's sort of that is sort of odd to be able to claim, because there's plenty of instances where there's players that are well developed in their career and they join these teams under their tutelage, right? Like in Greg Popovich's case, we look at LaMarcus Aldridge, right? Where he comes in well developed, he's well polished. He basically offensively gives some of the same qualities that Tim Duncan gives, right? If not in some instances a little bit more, right? Being able to stretch the floor. And he joins Greg Popovich and he drops off. Why does he drop off?
You know what? I have to give you credit for that one. And I will say this. The reason why, and I attribute it to this, I think Greg Popovich had too much loyalty to the old guard on that one. So I see your point.
Yeah. And then obviously in Larry Brown, you know who I'm pointing to immediately.
You talking about in the Olympics?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
talking about 04?
The 04 Olympics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that 04 Olympics. Yeah.
Yeah.
That if there's one knock on Larry Brown, that grown man still values old heads over young talent, when the young talent is obviously better than some of those old heads.
Yeah. I can understand what you're saying there.
But that's
both of
it.
them,
That's it.
but the hella good coaches. Larry Brown, I will say, great defensive mind.
Mm-hmm.
He was the head coach for that 01 76ers. They had no chance of beating the Lakers that year, though. But Popovich, yeah,
Larry Brown was the head coach for the Detroit Pistons team that ultimately did beat the Lakers.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna mention that. And they won in large part because of the defensive part, especially how the way they handled Kobe, particularly in that series, and also to Shaq to a lesser extent.
Yeah.
But I think casual, we're gonna move on to some football, man. You want to stick around, or do you want to stick around?
Oh no, I'm gonna tap out because y'all be wilding on the football. Y'all be talking too knowledgeable. I don't know.
Hey, listen, man, I'm not as knowledgeable as you as basketball. I mean, I'm okay to some extent. I ain't you.
Yeah, but I don't. No. But the difference is, you know something about basketball. I know nothing about football. Okay. I heard somebody the other day ask me, "How you feel about Justin Herbert?" Who the hell is that? Who the hell is that?
Don't worry, Champ and I, the crew, will help you. Just do yourself a favor. Don't ask Kenny for shit.
No! I won't ask Kenny for nothing.
No. Do not ask Kenny. Trust me. No. But anyway, casual man, let them know where to follow you, dog.
Hey, make sure to follow me on Hoosters Podcast. We post every Fridays and Sundays. We posting our live episode on Sunday at about 10 a.m. Central. We're supposed to be doing an interview with a Washington Wizards blogger. It should be about a 2-hour episode, so make sure to come and tune in and have some questions and answers. And who knows, we might bring a couple of you guys up onto the show. So, yeah. But hey, PSP, as always, bro, much love. OG, you know what it is. Salute, and I'll holler at you later, man.
I'll let y'all, man. Right. Take it easy, Cash. All right, folks, let's get into some comments right here real quick. My man, Nathari, the Bulls fan, congratulations on 1,000, bro. Thank you, man. Appreciate it, man. But let's talk about some NFL. I came up with this topic. Kenny said he was going to be here. Don't know when he's going to come, but he's been talking about a certain individual on Matthew Stafford, whether he should be a Hall of Famer or not. And I know it hurts, Champ, because we all know Stafford played at his squad, Georgia Bulldogs. So I came up with a topic to discuss. Who should be a Pro Football Hall of Famer? Here are a list of quarterbacks that I named off the top of my head. Past and some in the present, whether they should be in the Hall of Fame or not. There's Matthew Stafford, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Tony Romo, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson. I think it's a slam dunk, a no-brainer. Patrick Mahomes is a Hall of Famer. Not only I think he is a Hall of Famer, I don't care if he's done it for 5-6 years. I would take 5-6 years of greatness than 15-18 years of goodness. He's not a Hall of Famer. He's a first ballot, in my opinion. Multiple MVPs, multiple Super Bowl MVPs, first person to win the MVP, Super Bowl, and Super Bowl MVP. You got to go back to 99 when Kurt Warner won it with the Rams that year. So, we got Kenny in the building.
Hot take, Kenny.
What's up, bro?
Kenny.
Kenny ain't gonna respond? He ain't responding. What's up, man? Come on, man. Yo, bro, Kenny, what's going on, dog?
Here we go with the shenanigans.
Nah, we gonna wait on him. But anyway, what the hell are you doing, man? What in God's green earth are you doing? Come on, man.
Boy, you like Pookie off of New Jack City, boy. Don't do that to yourself.
What's with the celebration? What are you so happy about?
Either that or this is intro or something?
Chat. Yep. PSP's panel and the PSP podcast. Acknowledge me.
What the hell is wrong with you? And why are you so happy? Have you been sipping on that liquor? Because I know you've been having some drinks or something.
You've been choking back on Grandpa's old cough medicine, brother.
But anyway, Kenny came up with this topic because he's been on our group chat texting another day. Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer. So, Kenny, out of respect to you, I came up with this topic.
Okay.
Hold up, my computer's acting funny. Who should be a Hall of Famer? I named a list of quarterbacks between Matthew Stafford, Phillip Rivers, Eli, Big Ben, Romo, Mahomes, Wilson. First of all, we ain't going to talk about Patrick Mahomes. We already seen enough from Patrick Mahomes. He's going to the Hall of Fame, and I believe as a first ballot. There's nothing that he can do to make me feel otherwise. So, Kenny, you've been saying another day Matthew Stafford a Hall of Famer. Explain why.
You gonna put me on the screen?
Yes. Definitely gonna put you on the screen.
How you guys doing? So, Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer. Reason why I say Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer is because of the fact that before he got with the Rams, he was still putting up 1,000-yard seasons. I believe he made it to the Pro Bowl. And me personally, I just feel like the ring just put an icing on the cake. And that's really all he needed on his resume. Do I feel like he can add a lot of more things to his resume to become a Hall of Famer? Yes. But I feel like that ring put the icing on the cake for him being a Hall of Famer.
All right. Champ, I know you have a lot to say because Stafford played at University of Georgia, your team. You want to say something?
Honestly, I have to be honest with you. I have to be. Yes, he's a Georgia Bulldog, but I don't believe wholeheartedly he's a Hall of Famer. He's never made an All-Pro number one. Now, there's a difference between Pro Bowl, All-Pro. Pro Bowl fan voting is pretty much a popularity contest. All-Pro, you have to be considered the best quarterback in the league at a certain point. And in my opinion, although I've seen quarterbacks on bad teams be considered the best quarterback in the league. If you think Drew Brees during his time in New Orleans, there was times where he had losing seasons, but he was throwing that doggone ball until the casket dropped, leading the New Orleans Saints to 9-7 seasons, but missing the playoffs because he had no defenses. He had no elite receivers. He had no elite running backs prior to Alvin Kamara. And my thing is, he was not the best quarterback in his division. He couldn't win against Brett Favre. He couldn't win against Aaron Rodgers. He couldn't even win against the Minnesota Vikings and some of the mediocre quarterbacks that they had. Like I said, in order to be considered a Hall of Famer, number one, did you change the game? Number one, were you a perennial Pro Bowler? There's a difference between being a Pro Bowler and a perennial Pro Bowler. Perennial Pro Bowler, you got to go at least 6 to 8 times. 6 to 8 times. And you're not leading the league in passing. You're not leading the league in touchdowns. And you're throwing a lot of yards and garbage time. I just don't think – I understand a Super Bowl is the criteria for that. But if you was to put that on a guy like Phillip Rivers, that would have solidified it. I don't think just because you threw for a bunch of yards, no passing titles, no All-Pros, no touchdown titles or anything like that, even with the great Mega – and think about this, even with the great Megatron and Roy Williams, who was there for a brief period of time, you never threw for a hell of a lot of yards during that time. You never was in a spot to bring your team up to reach a playoff status. I'm talking about a perennial playoff status. I think you may have made the playoff 4 times when he was in Detroit. So you have to be considered one of the best at your positions at a certain point, not just through a bunch of yards. Because if you're there just because you threw a bunch of yards, it's safe to put a guy like David Craig in the Hall of Fame. We know he's not a Hall of Famer. It's safe to put a guy like Boomer Esiason in there. We know he's not a Hall of Famer. Just because you threw for a lot of yards and you are in the record book does not automatically qualify you for a Hall of Famer. And the Super Bowl just puts a cherry on top in there. Like I said, I understand that you are on a bad team at times, but like I said, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks on bad teams be considered to be one of the best of their time. Hey, think about Dan Marino. No offense, no defense, no Hall of Fame wide receivers, no running back. Only thing you got is only thing you have is Don Shula coaching his heart out with you, and Gary Stevens, who was your offensive coordinator prior to Jimmy Johnson coming in and throwing that out of the door. So we've seen it before. We've seen quarterbacks in bad situations put their teams and carry them on their back. I don't think Matthew Stafford did that. Now, am I happy for him as a Georgia Bulldog in order for him to get a Super Bowl ring? Yes. Hall of Famer? No, not at all.
All right, Harrison?
Shit. Well, I feel like yes and no, but like that's just like a tough question because yeah, he did win a Super Bowl ring. Yes, he had every over 1,000 yards every single time, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, damn, it is a tough one.
I don't think it's crazy.
It's not like I agree with you, but I also agree with Undisputed here, but I don't know. It's like yes and no for me, PSP. Yes and no, because they both have good takes of yeah, he won a Super Bowl ring. Yes, he got himself a first playoff win since he was with the Lions. Yes, he had so many different different coaches in his career. It's like yes and no. It's like yes and no for me.
For me, and I love Stafford. I've been a big fan of his coming out of Georgia. I can't say he's a Hall of Famer. He was when healthy, a very talented quarterback, top 10. He definitely had top 10 talent. He had mobility. He had a cannon of an arm. Can make side arm throws. I think with Stafford, he hasn't gotten the credit that I thought he deserved, because in Detroit, early on in his career, they just look at it and say, well, it's easy to throw the football when you have 6'5", 230, 240-pound Calvin Johnson. But there was a reason why he was drafted number 1 overall, for a reason. Even when they had Megatron, before Stafford in 2008, Detroit, they were the worst team in the NFL. They were 0-16. So Stafford, I think, injuries early on in his career definitely played a role, and being in that organization for far too long. If Stafford, he still has a chance because he is 35 years old. He'll be 36 in February. If he can make a couple of Pro Bowls and maybe another ring and a MVP, that could change it. It could definitely add validation. It could definitely do something. But as of now, unfortunately, I have to say no. But he still has a chance. He's 35. You don't, quarterbacks nowadays, they don't get hit like previously. So if he can have a good 4 or 5 years left in the tank, maybe. But as of now, no. All right, next quarterback we're going to mention, Phillip Rivers. You're talking about a guy who's made 8 Pro Bowls. He's only been to 1 AFC Championship game. I think yes, although he does not have a Super Bowl. He's never been considered the best quarterback in football, but he's been at best a top 8, top 10 quarterback. I will give Phillip Rivers a lot of credit for this. He's very fiery, very competitive, and Champ, I don't know how you feel this, but I damn sure know for a fact. He has one of the ugliest throwing motions I've ever seen. It's
Why
like
you say that?
Have you seen his throwing motion, Phillip Rivers?
Yeah, I never saw an issue with it.
It's not the purest or smoothest throwing motion in the world, Kenny. It's really that bad.
Let me look at it.
Kenny, if you actually watch Phillip Rivers throwing motion, or if you talk to Broad Sports Talk Roundup, they will tell you.
I used to fuck with the Chargers when I was a kid, and like I used to watch a lot of Chargers games. So I personally just never saw like a problem with him throwing the ball. I don't know. Let me look at it again.
All right, make sure you lower the music or back the stuff in the background. Yeah. But if you watch highlights of him on YouTube or whatever, I know you're doing that right now. This ain't the purest throwing motion in the world. It's ugly, but at the same time, the result is still there. I think yes. I think he'll get in. He has the numbers. He has the consistency. I think Ben and Eli, they have him over rings and playoff success. But where Phillip does have him over those two is consistency as far as putting up numbers in the regular season and stuff like that. So, Champ, Phillip Rivers, Hall of Famer?
Yes, I believe so. He's not going to make first ballot. He's
not that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's not going to be first ballot. I'd say first ballot.
But the only thing that's going to hurt him is the amount of talent that was on that team. You know, when you consider the Danian Thompson, the Lorenzo Neals, the Antonio Gates, the Vincent Jacksons, Chris Chambers, Randy McMichael, some of the wide receivers they had, some of the defenses. Yes, Michael Turner, who later became a great back for my Atlanta Falcons. I mean, when you think about the talent that he's played with, he's had, out of those 3, I will say, out of Big Ben, Eli, he's arguably, and I do say arguably, played with the most talent.
Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Was Keenan Allen on the roster when?
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, he even had Keenan Allen at one point. So he had some of the, and then they drafted Ryan Matthews. He was great for a couple years. The only thing that's going to hurt him is the voters are going to see, much like they saw with Dan Faust. They're going to see the talent on that roster, and they're going to see how much he underperformed in the playoffs and things of that nature, and that's probably going to hurt him. But in his defense, there was a lot of dysfunction within that organization as well. If you think about AJ Smith and the battles that he had in the front office with Marty Schottenheimer, is it safe to say that a lot of Phillip Rivers' unsuccessfulness was because they fired Marty Schottenheimer after a 14-2 year, and then Norv Turner, which we know he is more like the Lincoln Riley of the NFL, where he just focused on offense, and developing of a quarterback, and not necessarily developing the whole team. And if you ask me, the only reason why Norv Turner kept getting opportunities was because of the triplets. Mm-hmm. And, the early Cowboys team, and they thought he was the genius child behind that. So you have to think about that as well, because there was dysfunction in that organization as well. And I think if they would have kept Marty Schottenheimer, there's no doubt in my mind he would have won a Super Bowl. But between all the talent that he played with, that's going to hurt him when it comes to conversations, especially considering the quarterback class he came from. Because out of everybody, he was arguably in the best situation. Because he came in, he wasn't the focal point of the team. The face of the league, the face of the team was LaDainian Tomlinson. Yeah.
Especially in 2006 when he won the league MVP.
Yes. You had a league MVP coming into the league.
Right.
So, and then not to mention, he led the league in touchdowns several times when he was a San Diego Charger. So that's good. Like I said, he's arguably have the best road there is. Have a Hall of Fame coach, Marty Schottenheimer. You have all of that talent, because San Diego, they can draft talent. They can draft wide receivers. They can draft great running backs. They can draft good running backs. So with the talent that you were giving and the fact that you only got the one NFC championship, it's going to hurt him a little bit. He's not going to be first ballot, but I could definitely see him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Harrison, what says you?
I mean, hold on, let me look at his stats for this whole entire career.
So after watching some of Phillip Rivers' highlights, I don't see what the issue is. I really don't. Maybe I'm just tripping.
His throwing motion or the whole thing?
His throwing motion.
I see a little bit. I see. It's just like he throws like, I don't know how he throw. I don't know how to say.
The wounded duck sometimes.
I need an explanation. It's just like, PSP. Can you do an explanation of this shit, or just
it seems like to me he's throwing. It's like a shot put. He's like pushing the ball. But he does get.
Okay, now I kind of see what you're saying, because he kind of looks like it. He does.
Yeah, like the elbow. You see how his elbow is, like when he throws it like that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he is 6'5", so at least he's able to get away with that. To Champ's point, all those draft picks and all that talent that the Chargers accumulated, that is what's going to hurt him, though. You had LT, you had Antonio Gates, two first ballot Hall of Famers. Rest his soul, Vincent Jackson. You also had a lot of talent, and you were able to possess one AFC Championship appearance. But I do think because he does have 8 Pro Bowls, he's very well respected around the NFL. He's got he damn sure got a lot of kids though, like 8-10 kids, somewhere around that ballpark.
Right. Kids.
But again, but the Hall of Fame, they factor off the field issues and character and stuff like that. I feel like they shouldn't, but because of how well respected and how well liked he is, I believe he will get in, as well as the numbers. Is he a first ballot? No, he's never been considered the best quarterback. He was the best quarterback in his division, but no one would say Phillip Rivers. Yeah, he was better than Brady, Peyton, Breeze, Rodgers, Big Ben.
No,
he wasn't any of those quarterbacks. But Kenny, do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
I'm not done yet. I think so. All right. What you said, he has 8 Pro Bowls, and also he won a Comeback Player of the Year award. So, at 63,440 yards and 421 touchdowns. So, the way he played amazing. So, I really love Phillip Rivers when when I was like 12, 11 years old when I started watching football. So I always keep a good look on Philip Rivers film and shit. So yeah, I think he's Hall of Famer.
Kenny?
I'll say, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer.
All right. Let's talk about another quarterback in his draft class, Eli Manning. Now, Eli does have 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. He beat Bill Belichick and Tom Brady at the prime of their career in New England. He also went to Lambeau Field and beat Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. So Eli is one of 6 men to have won multiple Super Bowls and Super Bowl MVPs. The other men, Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Patrick Mahomes, Bart Starr, Terry Bradshaw. Eli is in that category. I understand he's led the league in interceptions 3 times. I understand his record is mediocre in the regular season. And I also understand most of the time he's missed the playoffs. But he does have 4 Pro Bowls. You can't ignore the Super Bowls or the Super Bowl MVPs. He has longevity. He did play for a cornerstone franchise, the New York Giants, for 16 years. And because of his last name, Manning, you know, that holds a lot of weight. I think he should be in. Not as a first ballot, but if you want to make 3rd, 4th, whatever ballot, yeah, I believe Eli is there. Champ, what says you?
The main reason that he's going to make it there is because he interrupted history. And the history was for, even though history eventually came true, he interrupted it twice. It was supposed to be Tom Brady and all of his infinite wisdom and all of the Patriot glory leading his team to the pinnacle, an undefeated season to top that off with the Super Bowl, and arguably one of the greatest seasons a quarterback has ever had with 50 touchdowns. So
with Randy Moss that year.
I think, yes, with Randy Moss, resurrected his career. Because remember, you know, people
quit in Oakland.
Yeah. So, and then, you know, bringing Russ Welker up to an elite status. But interrupting history not once but twice, that's what's going to get him into the Hall of Fame. Because one of the biggest things people don't acknowledge when they talk about the Hall of Fame is, can you write the history of the NFL with or without this person? You can't write the history of the league without Eli Manning, because he interrupted, because his career is forever going to be attached to arguably the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady. You beat arguably the greatest quarterback of all time twice on the biggest stage where no one could ever think to even beat him at this point. So many had tried and failed. I mean, dating all the way back to the beginning of Tom Brady's career.
Kurt Warner,
Jake
Delhomme,
Donovan McNabb. Then
Russell Wilson.
Yes, Tom Brady himself destroyed would-be dynasties, destroyed 2 of them, the Seattle Seahawks with the Legion of Boom and the St. Louis Rams. Not to mention, you beat a league MVP. You beat Kurt 2 Warner. League MVP. Beat Kurt Warner, not to mention the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history against my Atlanta Falcons. So to beat a person of that caliber on the biggest stage, what seems to be his forte, that's what's going to get him in, because you can't write the history of the NFL without Tom Brady, and with his history being interrupted by Eli, yes, he's going to make it in. Maybe not first ballot. If he makes it first ballot, it will be because of the history, not because of him individually.
Or that last name.
I mean, to be honest with you, does that name really carry as much weight as people think it does? Or are you just good? The only Manning that really wasn't very good was Archie, and people don't want to acknowledge that. But you got to think, because of Archie played for the New Orleans Saints, and they didn't have a winning history during that point. They was pretty much an expansion team.
Yeah.
You got to think, would he be held in high regard had he had the opportunities to play with some of the guys that his sons played with.
Right. And also, too, champ, let's not forget Lambeau Field. That's not an easy place to play in.
No, I think only two people beat Brett Favre in Lambeau at his peak, and that was Michael Vick and Eli. Yeah, so yeah, you beat. I mean, your path to the Super Bowl was pretty much
and Dante
hellacious.
Culpepper.
Yeah,
Dante Culpepper in 2004. I remember they went to the wild card game against the Green Bay Packers and they beat them. That was also the game in which Randy Moss mooned the fans in the end zone.
Yeah, I remember that. He got a lot of flack for that. Yeah. But that is pretty much essential. Like I said, I don't think the last name has any bearing on it. Like, it's not like Archie Manning was Bob Griese. Now, when you see Bob Griese and you see his son Brian Griese, you can say, well, the reason he's in the league because of his name,
right?
Because Brian Griese was good, but he was never close to Bob. So,
and I've said this before, regular season, obviously that's Peyton. You can argue Peyton is the greatest regular season quarterback in NFL history because of the 5 MVPs, the multiple All-Pros. But in postseason, I'd rather take Eli. And I'm not crazy or ashamed to admit that. But Kenny, is Eli a Hall of Famer?
Me personally, I'm gonna have to go with yes because of the fact that he did beat Tom Brady. He has that reputation where he did beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl twice. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go with yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Harrison.
What Kenny says.
All right. Now let's talk about a quarterback who I like, even though I can't stand that team. Tony Romo. Now Tony Romo's made 4 Pro Bowls in his career. He's never been to a Super Bowl, never won a Super Bowl, never even been to a conference championship game. At best, I thought he was a top 10 quarterback. He can put up numbers. No, top 10 quarterback during his time, champ. I mean, he was the top 10 quarterback when he was putting up numbers. But unfortunately for Romo, injuries played along the way. People still remember Tony Romo for a lot of mistakes. Remember the Seattle game in which he bobbled the snap and then he fumbled it? Or do you remember the game against the Giants in the divisional round in which he ended the game throwing a pick? And the only person that came to his defense was T.O., in which he was crying in the press conference. That's my quarterback. That's my teammate. Tony Romo, very likable figure. He's been doing a great job on the NFL on CBS. If you want to say he's a Hall of Famer as a broadcaster, you can make an argument. I think what's so great about Tony Romo, he predicts plays before it's demonstrated, stuff like that. But as a football player, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. Champ, what do you think?
You have to ask yourself this question. If he didn't play for the Dallas Cowboys, would we even be having this conversation?
No.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's a great point.
I mean, he made the Pro Bowl 4 times, put up a lot of numbers with a lot of talented players, much like Phillip Rivers. Was never consistent in the playoff, barely even got to the playoff with some of the most talented teams and talented defenses. I mean, had a great coach in Bill Parcells his first couple of years. Then then with Wade Phillips, he was a pretty decent coach. Had Jason Garrett. But like
Jerry.
I said, yeah.
That was because of Jerry.
Yeah, but like I said, if he was not a Dallas Cowboy, would we be having this conversation? No. So if I have to rank whether you're a Hall of Famer based on what team you played for, then no, you're not a Hall of Famer. Because like I said, the Hall of Fame is, can you write the history of the NFL without you? And I'm going to just be real with you. He's not even, to be honest with you, the best quarterback in Cowboys history is arguably Roger Staubach.
Okay.
Staubach. Arguably Roger Staubach. So
you can make an argument for Staubach, although some people would argue Aikman, but yeah, definitely Staubach.
I mean, and if you put those two guys up there, and then people don't even realize the very first Cowboy quarterback that played on the top, Tom Landry, I think is Bob Meredith. Bob Meredith was on that team. I'm not so sure if that's the correct name, but there was a Mr. Cowboy. But it's arguably, if you put those two guys, if you put all three of those guys, Troy Aikman, Tony Romo, Roger Staubach, who are you taking? Many would say Roger Staubach, many would say Troy Aikman. I'm not so even sure Cowboys fans would really say, yeah, I'm taking Tony Romo over those guys. And like I said, if he's not playing for the Dallas Cowboys, if he's playing for, let's say, the Philadelphia Eagles or the Kansas City Chiefs during his career, are we even having this conversation? Or even your team, PSP, the Washington Commanders, are we even having this conversation if he's not playing for the Dallas Cowboys? No, so he's not a Hall of Famer.
Hell no. But yeah, I mean, when you play for the Dallas Cowboys, that star on your helmet, hey, I mean, that changes.
Playing for the Cowboys in the NFL is kind of like playing for the Yankees in the Major League Baseball. You're automatically, whether you're mediocre or a super player, you're going to get that extra push.
What you said, Tony Romo's a Hall of Famer? Absolutely not. I mean, the way I would never forget that moment when Luke Kuechly destroyed the fuck out of him on Thanksgiving, which was absolutely freaking lovely. When it's just like, it was like a big fuck you to the face, and just like the season was over with Cowboys fans. And I mean, no, I don't think he's not a Hall of Famer. I mean, it is what it is. I don't think. Yep, like I said, Tony Romo's not a Hall of Famer.
Kenny?
No, I do not believe Tony Romo was a Hall of Famer. Like Undisputed said, we wouldn't be talking about him if he never played for the Cowboys. So I'm gonna have to agree with him on that.
All right. Another quarterback. Now he's in the same draft class with Eli and Phillip Rivers. That's Big Ben. He's been with the Steelers for 18 years, been to 3 Super Bowls, won 2. And he's made 6 Pro Bowls. Based on his on-the-field accomplishments, there's a no-brainer. He's a Hall of Famer. Not a first ballot, but if you want to say second or third, okay. Ben, unlike most of these quarterbacks, has had off-the-field issues. We already know. I'm not going to get into all the details. You can read them and look for them yourself. It's going to be interesting to see how he will be evaluated. Do I still believe he will be in? Yes, because it's Pittsburgh, and we all know how it is down there in Pittsburgh. And, that's a cornerstone franchise, football city, die hard. And Ben, since the off-the-field issues, we haven't heard anything. So he has cleaned up, rehabilitated his image. I believe he will be in regardless. But I also think if this were T.O., I don't think that T.O. probably wouldn't have a chance of being in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. But, Champ, what says you?
When you're a quarterback and you win 2 Super Bowls, especially for a flagship franchise like the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're automatically going to be considered for the Hall of Fame. Not to mention you won with 2 different head coaches. You won under Bill Cowher, one of the youngest, and he was the youngest player in NFL history, youngest quarterback in NFL history in order to win the Super Bowl, mind you. So he was the youngest quarterback to win the Super Bowl, and he won a second one with Mike Tomlin, just years later. So you win 2 Super Bowls, make a few Pro Bowls with the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's going to automatically put you up there for the Hall of Fame. And I'm pretty sure, considering, because the incident that you're talking about happened in my backyard up in Millersville, Georgia. So I know exactly, I'm well aware of the incident that you're speaking of.
Yes.
So, but unlike a lot of other players, and I won't even pull the R card in there, if you get what I'm trying to say. If this was any other player outside of the quarterback position, would it be mentioned a lot? I think it would be, because if you've heard a lot of players who were not quarterbacks, and when the quarterback gets in trouble, it's pretty much swept under the rug pretty quickly, as you don't hear about it too much anymore. But, any other player that gets in trouble or any type of problems with the law, you hear about it a lot more. And like you stated, in T.O.'s case, never got in trouble with the law just because of his personality. They wanted to kind of, nail him to the cross on that one. But Big Ben, Hall of Famer, 2 Super Bowls, 6-time Pro Bowler, was the corner. And you got to think about this too. And I'm going to end it on this note. Pittsburgh, from the time that Perry Bradshaw retired, all the way up to the time where Big Ben was drafted, they didn't have a quarterback.
They did.
No, you think about it. The reason, and one could argue, as great of a coach as Bill Cowher was, without Ben Roethlisberger, he doesn't have a Super Bowl. He went to the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 30, lost. He had never, leading up to Ben Roethlisberger, Bill Cowher had never even won a road playoff game. Think about that for a second. Bill Cowher's in the Hall of Fame.
He is.
So you have to take all of that into consideration. And you can't write the history of the NFL without Bill Cowher, because he was the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers for all those years.
Right. Kenny? I think we lost them. Oh, go
Sorry.
ahead, Kenny.
What you say? I'm sorry.
Should Ben Roethlisberger be a Hall of Famer?
You got to come back to me on that. I got to think about that.
All right.
Yes, he is. I mean, what Champ said, what, two Super Bowls, 6 Pro Bowls? I mean, come on now.
Okay, that's fair. So I'll say he's a Hall of Famer. I wouldn't say he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, though.
Right. I think he will get in, but like I said, and you agree with me, Champ, the off-the-field issues, I'm referring to the one in Milledgeville, Georgia, that led to his suspension in 2010. We know about that.
Yeah.
But I believe he will get in because you win 2 Super Bowls in a cornerstone franchise like Pittsburgh. I've been to Pittsburgh. It's die-hard football city, Steeler Nation. I get that. And you also brought up a great point with Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin. He won a Super Bowl with 2 different head coaches. Not an easy thing to do. So, and I've said it before, and I will say this about Terrell Owens. It is a shame that the Pro Football Hall of Fame kept him out because they use character to keep him out. Correct me if I'm wrong, Champ, and I've heard this from Shannon Sharp. He said, when it comes to the Hall of Fame, you are never supposed to take off the field issues into consideration. But when right,
you're absolutely correct.
But when T.O.'s name was mentioned, suddenly they changed it. So they came up with different rules. They factored what he did in the sideline, what they did in the huddle, what they did in the locker room. T.O., was he perfect? No. But at the end of the day, his results are unquestionable. You're talking about a 6-time Pro Bowler, a 5-time first-team All-Pro. He is one of 3 men to be a first-team All-Pro on 3 different teams. San Francisco, Philadelphia, Dallas. You know the other 2 men in that category who's done it with T.O.? Ted Hendricks, and we all know very well, Deion Sanders. Both of them in the Hall of Fame, first ballot.
Yeah.
But the other problem I have with the media, the voters, and I hate to say this, Randy Moss. Now, that's not to say that Randy Moss doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. Don't get me wrong. He belongs in the Hall of Fame as a first ballot. But the media gave him a pass because of his involvement with the media and ESPN. And they suddenly changed and cleaned up his image and reputation. Champ, Randy Moss told the world, I play when I want to.
Yeah.
And you mean to tell me T.O. can't be a Hall of Famer?
He's in the Hall of Fame. We're just talking about how long they kept him out of the Hall of Fame.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, you can do that, but like, they won't take accountability of what Randy Moss did, and that's kind of like crazy to me.
But
I mean, remember Randy Moss had that incident with a police officer back when he was in Minnesota.
Yeah, he was driving his car. He was driving his car. He bumped into a police officer, and they later found marijuana in the car. He also had issues with substance abuse. That's why he fell in the draft as well, Champ. Dallas was gonna take him.
You know what?
Because of Michael Irvin, they were like,
You know what's crazy? Randy Moss, he was supposed to go to Notre Dame until he got in trouble with the law or whatever, and that's how like he committed the martial and stuff. Because he was supposed to originally go to Notre Dame, but he got in trouble.
No, that's not the whole part. the coach from Notre Dame called Bobby Bowden. Then he was supposed to go to Florida State.
Yeah.
He failed another drug test. Bobby Bowden called Marshall. Yeah.
I remember that. I remember
So
that.
not to mention, you know, the trouble he got into in high school. I know that's way, way far back from the NFL days, but you know, when you think about all the distraction that he may have said that he may have said on the NFL level, even Chris Carter, one of his good friends used to call him out all the time once he left Minnesota, and said himself, when things are going bad or not going the way they're supposed to, he will fold. And people had, and I think you'll remember this too, PSP. Remember when Dennis Green got fired?
Yes.
From the Minnesota Vikings. People said, people better watch Randy Moss. He's not going to be in Minnesota very long since Dennis Green's gone, because Dennis Green was his biggest fan. And lo and behold, they traded him a couple years after Dennis Green left.
Because they just felt like they had enough. But and again, I am not saying that Randy Moss should not be in the Hall of Fame and not be a first ballot. That is not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is T.O. should not be ostracized. T.O. put up numbers, and people forget that Super Bowl. Dude played on one leg. One leg in that Super Bowl. Had no business playing in that Super Bowl. And Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't he labeled selfish for playing in that Super Bowl?
Yeah, he was labeled selfish for playing in the Super Bowl with his team. And I think, here's the thing. Here's the wording got messed up with that. The whole thing, he was like, yes, he never said, I'm doing this to help my team. That was the problem with the said media of that time. Well, he never said I was doing it. He was like, I'm doing this to prove my doubt is wrong, prove I can still play, and to play in the Super Bowl. He never said I'm doing this to help my team win the Super Bowl. And that's what they balked on at that particular time. And because of his issues with Donovan McNabb and him saying that we don't have to replace T.O.
Right.
You know.
And also the contract situation, because T.O. wanted a new contract. Donovan didn't want to get involved at the time, but he spoke on behalf of Brian Westbrook.
The year before.
Right, and that's no knock on Brian Westbrook. Brian Westbrook was a very good player for the Eagles. But T.O. looks at that betrayal, and he's like, wait a minute. If you could speak up for Brian Westbrook, why can't you speak up for me? And then T.O., I saw the Club Shay Shay podcast. He mentioned an incident in which Donovan told him to shut the F up.
In the huddle.
He said that. T.O. said that in his documentary. I don't know if you guys
Football Life.
Yeah, Football Life. Yeah, T.O. said that in his Football Life thing.
Yeah. So, and he's been very adamant about that. And Donovan got a pass because he was the quarterback, the face of the franchise, the Campbell's Chunky Soup commercials, and all that other stuff. And plus, Donovan, if I'm not mistaken, Champ, wasn't he accused of throwing up in the huddle in the Super Bowl? Wasn't he drinking the night before of the Super Bowl?
That's what they're. Not only that, we had another incident once he became a broadcaster. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you got to remember that as well. Like I said, but that goes back to what I said with Ben Roethlisberger. People are never going to hold a quarterback's feet to the fire quite like they would do at another position.
Especially someone of his
yes, of his caliber. Yeah. You're not going to hold his feet to the fire. And if you really want to be honest, Donovan McNabb didn't get over the hump until T.O. came along.
Yeah.
He couldn't get over the hump. And people get on to me when I say this. When you think about this, people are going to say, well, Donovan, he didn't have any weapons prior to T.O. That is true. But think about what else he had. Jimmy Johnston. Yes. Jimmy Johnston had arguably one of the greatest defenses during that time that you had. One of the best secondaries. These guys were the Legion of Boom before the Legion of Boom.
And you have Brian Dawkins.
Then you have Brian Dawkins. You have some of the best pass rushers in the league. Jeremiah Trotter was a great linebacker at that time. And what do everybody get on the well, he didn't have a top 5 defense. Donovan McNabb had that. And he had
Andy
Deuce
Reed.
Staley,
Yeah.
Brian Westbrook, Chad Lewis, bunch of guys. You had one of the greatest defenses of all time. The only thing they didn't do was win a Super Bowl.
Right.
Tom Brady, if you go to Man in the Arena, he honestly said that was one of the best defenses I have faced in the Super Bowl. Even the Legion of Boom. He put them over the Legion of Boom.
Right. And not only that, though, you also had a guy in Andy Reid who was dialing up schemes, dialing up plays. The only knock Andy Reid had in Philadelphia was clock management, and could he win the big one?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's with the media. Like I said before, I just can't take the Hall of Fame seriously anymore like I once did. But one last quarterback, and then I gotta talk about Kyler.
Hey,
Russell.
PSP, I'm gonna get up out of here. I gotta do something for my grandma. I'm gonna catch the next episode.
All right, no problem, Kenny. Take it easy, man.
See you, hot take.
All right. Come on, dude.
All right, Russell Wilson. All right, Russell Wilson. He's made 9 Pro Bowls in his career. I mean, you look at what he's accomplished in Seattle. Dumbest play call in Super Bowl history. Instead of not giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch, they decided to throw it, and it cost them the Super Bowl with the interception. But throughout his career in Seattle, very productive, perennial Pro Bowl. But you look at Denver. First year was a huge flop. Second year, he's been playing better, but he's with Sean Payton the first year. I believe he will get in. But, Champ, what says you? Is Russell Wilson a Hall of Famer?
Yes, he is. He's not going to get in there on the first ballot. You have to do something. I'm going to just be real. People always say, well, you can't take the Pro Bowl too serious. You have to do something. You have to be something special. He didn't have a losing season in Seattle. He didn't have a losing season in Seattle. He never had a losing season.
Right.
To my knowledge, I would say. Let me do some more research on that.
He never had the playoffs since 2017. They didn't make the playoffs in 2017. But outside of that, they've been to the playoffs almost every year
single
except
year.
2017 and 2021.
Yeah, and even then he had a winning season, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. So he never had a losing season there. He was the cornerstone for that franchise for a lot of years. He wasn't just a flash in the pan. And, Seattle, he was thriving prior to the big-time social media. I don't think social media really hit until like 2013. So he was not – and he was relatively silent. Usually when you see a guy making a lot of Pro Bowls like that, you usually have a very, very loud quarterback with a lot of personality. People will say it's about. He was relatively silent, real mild-mannered type of guy. So I think he deserves to be in there. I think the last 2 years will hurt his chances, especially consider what they gave up for him. Because when you give up that type of draft capital for a quarterback, you expect them to come in, make an impact, and win you a Super Bowl. You don't expect playoffs. You expect them to win you a Super Bowl. And thus far, that experiment has failed, and especially with the contract and the draft picks, yes, he'll make it, but it's going to hurt him in the long run this 10 year in Denver if he doesn't at least make the playoff one time in his career in Denver.
Harrison?
I was just looking at Russell Wilson's career stats. I mean, look at what he is. I mean, he did win a Super Bowl with Seattle against the Broncos. Was it like 40? It was like 40 something to 8.
43 to 8. Yeah, I mean, that was the year when Peyton won the league MVP, broke Tom Brady's record for the most touchdown passes that season.
And he's actually doing not bad with the Broncos this season, but last year he was pretty awful, having over 1,613 yards, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 102. I'll say yes. Dude's a Hall of Famer.
And I agree as well. Now, the moment I've been waiting for to talk about before I start with the start benches and cuts. Y'all saw my post, the one that I posted on Kyler Murray. champ Harrison?
Yes, I did.
Well, Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals responded before he ultimately blocked me.
Ooh.
Wait, who blocked you? Wait, Kyler blocked you?
Yes,
He
sir.
blocked me. He saw a video on my Instagram, and he had some comments that he had to say. Let me show you the things that he said. I even screenshotted the comments. This is what Kyler Murray responded. He saw a video that I posted on my Instagram in which I said that if he goes to a team like Atlanta, because if the Arizona Cardinals get the number 1 overall pick, they're probably going to draft Caleb Williams out of USC. It's a no-brainer that Caleb Williams is the consensus choice for the number 1 overall pick. But I say probably because, again, we don't know whether if he's going to come out or not. His father's been on the record depending on the situation. But anyway, I said that Kyler Murray, if the Cardinals have a chance of drafting Caleb Williams, they're going to trade Kyler Murray. And one of those teams I would love to see him play for is the Atlanta Falcons because of the weapons. And I mentioned Michael Vick. Now, to be clear, I am in no ways comparing Kyler Murray off the field compared to Michael Vick. We already know about Michael Vick's issues in the past, and I'm glad that he's redeemed himself, and I'm glad that he's turned around his life. I am not talking off the field regarding Kyler Murray and Michael Vick.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am talking about is work ethic. If there's one thing Kyler Murray and Michael Vick are compared to, neither of them have the greatest work ethic. And Mike Vick, correct me if I'm wrong, champ, he admitted when he was in Atlanta, he didn't take his football career seriously. He even admitted in a 60 Minutes interview with James Brown, the NFL broadcaster on CBS, that he was lazy. Last one to show up, first one to leave. Did he take his career seriously in Atlanta, champ?
No, he did not, especially after Dan Reeves left. I think Dan Reeves was the only coach in Atlanta that really held him accountable. And after Dan Reeves, when Jim Moore came in, boom, that balloon came out the bag because Dan Reeves was like his guardian angel. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. And with Mike Vick, just like Mike Vick has issues with his work ethic, so does Kyler Murray. So Kyler Murray responded on my Instagram, and he said, "I'm going to give you some time today, you clown. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. You don't do what I've done in my life without taking the shit seriously. Be better than that."
Holy fucking shit. Jesus.
But you think I was going to not respond? Think again. I responded to Kyler Murray. This was my response to Kyler Murray. How am I a clown? Why did the Arizona Cardinals put a homework/study clause in your contract when they handed you the money? You were also quoted from the New York Times admitting you don't spend as much time watching film. Why is that you've had numerous reports, Kyler, that people question your maturity? Explain that. For the record, I am an OU fan and been a big fan of your game, and I wish you the best. But man, you have an awful lot to learn and develop. And I put in lot to learn because I forgot to add that part for the first response. And you know what? Champ.
Yeah.
Yo, you know me very well. And Harrison, you know me very well.
Yes, sir.
Am I an OU fan?
Yes.
1000%.
Yeah.
Although I'm a Michigan fan too, am I an OU fan? Am I holding an OU helmet as we speak?
Yes.
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 Right. Even though I'm mad about them losing to OSU, but that's a story for another day. Do I not have a Kyler Murray poster on my wall?
Yes. 1000%.
Yeah.
Let me put myself on solo screen. Kyler, your response to my post further validated what people have been saying about you all along, how immature you are. Kyler, I think you are, when healthy, a very talented quarterback. I love OU. I loved your game. I loved when you won the Heisman Trophy. I love the fact that you were the number 1 overall pick, and you've had some success in the NFL. You won Offensive Rookie of the Year. You've won 2 Pro Bowls. The reason why I mentioned Michael Vick is because, just like you, Kyler, Michael Vick did not take his football career seriously. I think now, unlike Champ, because Champ has been on the record saying, nah, I don't want Kyler in Atlanta for 2 reasons, legitimate reasons. Number 1, the cap. Because if they do trade to get you, it's going to hurt their cap situation. And plus, he has even admitted, if you're not concentrating or focused in a place like Arizona, what the hell makes you think you're going to focus in the ATL? I've said this, and I've told this to Champ. I think with Kyler, with the weapons that they have in Drake London, in Kyle Pitts, in Bijan Robinson, with you to that mix, you would be the best quarterback in that division. Because when we look at Bryce Young, he's a rookie. I believe Bryce Young will be fine. Derek Carr is what he is, and even though I love Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield, to his credit this season, has played well, is not the long-term solution for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think you would be a great fit for the Atlanta Falcons, contrary to what Champ thinks. You, Kyler, regarding your immaturity, it's well known. Go look at Chris Mortensen's report. Chris Mortensen of ESPN reported that the Cardinals described you as self-centered, immature finger pointer. Calvin Beachum, who was an offensive lineman, I don't know if he still plays for the Cardinals or not, admitted that one of the things you needed to improve or develop was your maturity. He said that you needed to grow up. Larry Fitzgerald Sr., who is the father of Larry Fitzgerald, even said that you're spoiled. It is coming from the father of Larry Fitzgerald. If it's coming from the father, then people are going to assume it's coming from Larry Fitzgerald. And Larry Fitzgerald, last time I checked, is one of the highly well-respected players in the NFL. A first ballot Hall of Famer, and who's been around you, Kyler, in your first 2 years with the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler, let me go back to your comment. Because you said it yourself, Kyler. You said it yourself. I'm taking you at your word. You don't do what I've done in my life without taking the shit seriously. Kyler, let me ask you this question. If you feel like you're so offended that I question your work ethic or others have questioned your work ethic, let me ask you this question, bro. Explain why the Cardinals put that clause in your contract. They put an independent study clause in your contract in which your ass has to study for 4 hours outside the job. Now, they removed that clause from your contract, in my opinion, because of how embarrassing the situation was. But Kyler, you gave them a reason. And Kyler, you even admitted from the New York Times, this is you, this is your word. This is what you said. I think I was blessed with the cognitive skills to just go out there and just see it before it happens. I'm not one of those guys that's going to sit there and kill myself watching film. I don't sit there for 24 hours and break down this team and that team and watch every game because in my head, I see so much. So basically, Kyler, what I got from that quote from you is you feel like you're so great. You're so unique as a talent and in terms of your vision that basically you don't need to do the requisite or necessary things just for your ass to be prepared. That's what I took from that quote. I don't know how else am I supposed to take it, but that's what I took. Kyler, the problem is you, bro. You are the problem. I really wish I didn't have to respond. I really wish I didn't have to take the time to be talking about this, because I am still an OU fan and I still love your game. I wish you nothing but the best. I hope you come back. I hope you resemble into being the player you once were, man. But bro, your personality, and just because we may not know the things that you do outside, we know what you've done. We know what's been said. And knowing what you've done is all that matters. Kyler, you have an awful lot to learn, man. You have an awful lot to learn. You have an awful lot to mature. And I'm getting tired of this with Kyler. I will still support this dude as a football player, and I will still support OU. That ain't changing. But I will not hesitate into criticizing someone when needed to. And the fact that you took this time to respond to me like that, as well as blocking me, I don't care whether you like me or not, Kyler. I don't care if we talk. I don't care. We ain't got to be friends. We ain't got to be exchanging Christmas cards or having Thanksgiving dinner. I don't care. We ain't that. But Kyler, man, how you came across and your response, it just tells me how immature you incredibly are. And you have an awful lot to learn. What you said, look, I understand how I understand how you feel, man. But look, you're just giving credence to what people have said about you. You need to look at yourself in the mirror, Kyler, and say to myself, what do I got to do? What do I got to do in order for people to stop having this narrative about me of me being immature, me not being what I'm supposed to be? Why don't you ask yourself that, Kyler? Anyway,
let's just get it right. Let's just
that's my piece. Any of y'all gotta respond?
Hey, that's not. I'm gonna back you up on this. Remember when Patrick Peterson was interviewed?
Oh yeah, I forgot that.
He said Kyler Murray doesn't care about anybody but Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's your teammate, right? Who are you supposed to galvanize? All your teammates. I mean, I'm just gonna be real. I thought it was a fake page at first. I really didn't think that was real. I thought it was
Once you notified me, champ, and once I saw the post, I didn't believe it. I thought I thought this was a joke.
I thought it was fake too. I was like, wait a minute, that's the real. I said, wait a minute, let me go to the page. He was verified and everything, but like I said, if to piggyback on what you said, if multiple people, we have a saying down south, everybody ain't lying. Everybody ain't lying. If one teacher tell on you, that's fine. Two teachers, maybe the principal tell on you, that's fine. If the whole school is telling on you and doing because you're doing stuff that's immature in school, everybody ain't lying. Everybody ain't lying. And if your own teammates has come out against you to state things of this nature, everybody's not lying. And like I said, that's an old saying from my father, my grandfather, and my grandmother that I'll never forget. Everybody is not lying when they're saying things about you, especially if it's a multitude of people. One or two people can be lying. That's cool. But everybody ain't lying. I ended on that note.
Harrison?
Jeez. Man, PSP was cooking a 5-course meal.
I think probably the reason why he blocked me because he couldn't answer to the question I gave him.
Not gonna lie, I feel like I was Kyler Murray when I was in high school. Jesus. Damn, I got shit. I got no words. You cooked him. You cooked a 5-course meal plus dessert. PSP. Goddamn.
Honestly, when I heard it, like I said, I did not believe it was actually him. But once I saw his profile and the blue check mark, it was him. And I felt everything that I said was true. Again, to be clear, I am in no way comparing Kyler Murray and Michael Vick off the field. Let me state that for the record. I am talking about work ethic. Neither of them had the greatest work ethic in the world. I simply said that if Michael Vick can mentor or be a brother figure to Kyler Murray, that would be beneficial for Kyler because it'll help Kyler mature. It'll help Kyler realize that I have to put in the work just in order for me to be where I need to be. And Champ, I'm going to give you a lot of credit. Atlanta, I'm starting to wonder Atlanta shouldn't consider him. Because if he's going to act like this, imagine what he's going to be in the ATL. You said it.
It's too much. I live 100 miles away from Atlanta. And that is the main reason. I'll be honest with you. And this is something personal about myself. This is why I have chosen to stay in my hometown in order to work and go to college and do things like that rather than go to Atlanta. It's distracting for a guy, a nobody like myself. And I hate to say it that way, but nobody knows me. It's just like outside of maybe you guys and a couple other people, but nobody really knows me. So it's distracting for the ordinary guy walking on the streets in Atlanta to really concentrate. There's so many distractions. It's just like in Miami. That's how come it's so difficult to win in these cities. There's a reason why huge markets struggle with winning championships. There's a reason why in Dallas, since the 90s Cowboys, that they struggled to win a championship. There's a reason why in Miami they struggle to win championships. There's a reason why in Atlanta, outside of the baseball team that we have here, that they struggle to win. I mean, even in Los Angeles, if you really want to put it that way, prior to the LA Rams, really nobody was winning. It is very, very difficult to win in small markets when there's very little, when you're the toast. And even in small markets, you're the toast of the town. Everybody knows you in these small markets. So if you take that small market and put it times 1 million, that's what you get when you're in markets like Atlanta, Los Angeles, New York. And if you can't concentrate in those small markets where you're the toast of the town, everybody knows you, everybody's passing you by and knows your name, how can you concentrate in a huge market like Atlanta? And when you come to Atlanta and you started losing and you signed a multi-million-dollar contract, ask Matt Ryan what happened to him. Ask Matt Ryan how he was crucified in Atlanta. Ask Mike Vick. Ask any quarterback that ever played in Atlanta. We've never won anything. We want a championship. So when you get a high caliber quarterback like that with a contract like that, you're expected to win championships. So you're expected to bring something to the town that has never been here before. So if you can't concentrate in an Arizona and in an environment like that, how can you concentrate in an environment like Atlanta where distractions are pretty much around the corner 24 hours a day?
It's not even Atlanta. It's pretty much any team. It's pretty much any team.
Yeah, but the reason I highlight Atlanta is everybody knows Atlanta is kind of the center of the universe when it comes to kind of like entertainment, hip hop. They film all the Marvel Action Universe movies were filmed right here in Georgia. Right here in Peachtree City, right here in Georgia. So, like I said, if you can't, I mean, Tyler Perry Studio is in Atlanta. It's so many distractions. And I'm not going to go into why people come to Atlanta. Y'all can look and view it for yourself.
I've been there.
If you get what I'm trying to say. People come all around. Yeah, it's beautiful. And it's a lot of trappings that you can find yourself into in Atlanta. That's how come I go there very, very sparingly. Yeah, I go there and I have my fun. I come on back home. But if you cannot find your center of focus in an environment like an Arizona, people don't even. John Jones, Greg Jackson, all those UFC fighters, guess where they train? In Arizona. When Jamarcus Russell tried to make his comeback, guess where he trained? In Arizona. Some of these fighters, when they train, a lot of people, they go to Arizona in order to train because of the weather, the extreme heat, the elevation. And if you can't find your center of gravity there in order to find a level of concentration, then how can you do it in a distracting area like in Atlanta? You just can't do it. Now, if you can prove me wrong, hey, especially when, and piggybacking on Michael Vick, you notice when he went to Philadelphia, he had a very, very strong-minded coach in Andy Reid.
Mm-hmm.
When Mike Vick had to take film study serious back when he was at Atlanta before Jim Moore, because I think that's when the problems occurred when Jim Moore came to Atlanta. He had a very, very strong-minded head coach in Dan Reeves. He had been to 3 Super Bowls with John Elway. So if you can't find your center of gravity outside of those distractions in a small market where people are known to train and get their bodies in shape and study the film, then how can you do that in a distracting place like in Atlanta? You just can't do it.
Harrison, is there anything else you want to say before we move on to some NFL picks?
I got no comment. PSP, you cooked them. You cooked that, man.
I wish I didn't have to do this video, but look, anytime when I feel like someone says something, I just feel like I have to respond.
I swear, bro, I feel you don't take no disrespect whatsoever.
I mean, sometimes, but I felt like what Kyler did, I had a lot to say. By me not responding, I feel like I'm doing myself and my audience a disservice. So, Kyler, listen, I respect Kyler Murray as a football player. I think he's fantastic, fun to watch. I still love OU, but regardless, I'm still going to do my job, and I'm going to give an honest critique, whether he likes it or not. Again, I'm not going to be Kyler Murray's friend or anything like that. I'm going to call it for what it is. It is what it is. But anyway, let's talk about some NFL. Let's talk about some NFL picks for this week. All right, let's move on. So we got some games right here. We got the Dolphins versus the Chiefs. It will be at Frankfurt Stadium in Frankfurt, Germany. The Chiefs are 1.5 point favorites. Who wins?
I guess I'll go. I was picking Miami in this game, and I was looking at the temperature for a second. It was like going to be below 40.
Ooh.
And I said, Tua does not do good in the cold. That's the thing about it. But I'm going with Mahomes on this one. I can't doubt Mahomes. I love with it. I don't think Mahomes not going to lose 3 straight. He's not going to lose 3 straight. There's no way in hell he's going to lose 3 straight.
We said that about the Niners, didn't we?
You mean 2 straight? You mean 2 straight? You mean 2 straight, Harrison? He lost to Broncos last week.
Oh, did he lose? Did he? Oh shit.
Yeah.
My bad. I'm going with Kansas City. I think it's time for Mahomes to bounce back.
Champ?
Hey, offensive sputtering. Offensive sputtering is one thing when, the defensive side is not working, but, your offensive sputtering, that's a problem. And Miami is not only flying high, but they're getting back in. They're getting healthier.
Yes,
they're getting healthier. A-Chain will be back in a couple of weeks, so I got to go with Miami on this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Miami as
well.
Hey,
PSP, what was the stadium again called?
Frankfurt Stadium.
It's in Germany.
Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
All right, this is for Champ right here. Vikings and Falcons. Kirk Cousins, unfortunately, will be out for the rest of the season with the ruptured Achilles. God bless him. The Falcons are a 4-point favorites. Taylor Heineke will be the starter. Champ, who do you have?
I got to go with my Atlanta Falcons. Rise up. We look completely different with him at the helm. And I understand what people are going to say. Well, Will Levis did not have the greatest game. He did not throw a touchdown. But understand that Will Levis was operating on a short week. We had a full week in order to prepare. And we look like a completely different offense with Taylor Heineke able to get the ball down the field. So, Atlanta, I take them over the Vikings. If Kirk Cousins was playing, I would be a little bit more worried. But unfortunately, and I hate that for Kirk Cousins because he was putting up envy. He was carrying this team by sheer will, especially with Justin Jefferson out. But with him out, I got to go with Atlanta.
Harrison?
I really hate the Falcons so much in so many ways. I gotta roll with Atlanta because with Taylor Heineke, he could be a top. I don't know how you could say this. He's like a top 10, top 8 like backup quarterback.
Oh.
You're about to say, "Oh hell no!" If
you're gonna say top 10 quarterback in the NFL, I'm like, oh no. But
no,
you said
no.
backup. The operative term you used was backup.
But I'm going with Atlanta. It's time for Bijan Robinson to push some numbers up. I'll say defense sucks for Minnesota. Probably go by 8 points.
All right, and I'll go with the Falcons. And Washington just beat USC 52-42.
Yeah, and Alabama beat
a fraud. Sorry.
And Alabama beat LSU. Jaden Daniels got put out of the game in I think the third, fourth quarter as I was watching it as I was on.
He got hurt?
Yeah, he got hurt. Got hit right up under the 10 in the defensive line and landed right on top of him. He probably concussion protocol right about now. He was having a hell of a game too. Yeah. So,
okay. All right. Next game right here: Cardinals versus the Browns. It's at the Browns, and Cleveland is a 12.5-point favorite.
Yeah, Cleveland. Watson is playing. He is ready to go. I forgot who the fuck's their quarterback? We don't know anymore.
It's not Josh Dobbs anymore because
I know it's not Josh Dobbs because he's with Minnesota. It's Watson. Can Watson? What are we? We're in week 9 already.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
time for Deshaun Watson to get his head out of his ass or something because he's been. I'm sorry, but like he's been sucking, and also he's just been hurt. It just turns out PJ Walker, he's just like that dude. Freaking owning Tom Brady and Brock, Mr. Irrelevant, overrated quarterback Brock Purdy. But I'm going with Cleveland. Just Watson, have yourself a game, please.
I'm going with Cleveland. Then we got Rams at the Packers. Green Bay is a 3.5-point favorite. I'm reading the source right here. Matthew Stafford is unlikely to play versus Packers because of his UCL sprain, but the Rams are giving him all the time they can before making a final decision, according to a source.
Mm-hmm.
So, Champ, who do you got?
I don't trust Jordan Love. I got to go with the Rams.
He's been too inconsistent this season.
It's at Lambeau. I mean, if Stafford plays, I'll go with the Rams. But right now, I'm going with Green Bay. Hopefully, Jordan Love still has a good game. But I still believe in the just a great duo between Dillon and Jones. Is Jones hurt? Or I'm tripping?
Aaron Jones?
Aaron Jones, yeah. I might be tripping. Because if those two can stay healthy, I think just run down their throats, I think they still have a shot. So I'm going with Green Bay.
Hamstring injury, he will play in week 9.
Oh yeah, I'm going with Green Bay. I'm going with Green Bay at Lambeau Field.
Sure.
Two good duos in the NFL. I'm going with Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm just reading a tweet right here from Jason B. Hirschhorn. He is an award-winning NFL and college football writer for SB Nation. He is co-founder of the Leap, a Packers newsletter, so he covers the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, Aaron Jones will play, according to his report. I'm going to go with the Packers in this one. I think Jordan Love, he may not be the best quarterback in the world. The problem with him is the inconsistency. But if he could resemble into being what he was the first 2 weeks in the NFL, which he played well the first 2 weeks, I'm going to give Green Bay a shot. I think they win this one 22-21. I think it's going to be a close game, but I got Green Bay winning that one. Then next up, the Commanders. We all know that versus the Patriots, they traded away Montez Sweat to the Chicago Bears. They get a second-round pick. They also traded Chase Young to the San Francisco 49ers for a third-round pick. Appreciated that Champ went on my other podcast, Commanders Demand. We talked long and hard about that situation. Although I will admit it is sad to see them gone, but Washington, we have something to look forward to regarding our future. We have $90 million, over $90 million in cap space, so we can do something regarding free agency and draft. And to your other point, Champ, Magic Johnson, I believe he's going to do something to turn around this organization. Him and Josh Harris. I actually do have the Commanders winning this one. I think Sam Howell has been playing well. You've gotten a lot of criticism, Champ, because people feel like you're not paying enough attention to the defense. They say about the one on Eric Bieniemy. I think Eric Bieniemy does not prioritize running the football as much. Yes, it's true. The defense has been bad. They're 31st in team defense. But at the same time, you look at this team with this offense, Brian Robinson will be the X factor. He has to run the ball more. If you're a DB and if you're in Brian Robinson's way, not the best place for you. So who do you got for this one, Champ?
Who do y'all have again?
Commanders versus Patriots.
They'll roll over the Patriots. And, hey, they talk about the defense. Hey, when the defense is constantly on the field, that's why you need to be running the ball. Am I right? Keep them off the field for a minute.
Exactly. Help your defense out. Harrison, who you got?
Man. So you got mac and cheese, and you got Sam Howell. Jesus.
You don't like Sam Howell because, of course, North Carolina.
Oh, no. No, I like Sam Howell because my middle brother played against Sam Howell in high school. So I'm not going to give up on Sam Howell just yet. But you got mac and cheese as your quarterback? Jesus Christ.
He's not that bad, though.
He's horrible.
Bro, Bill Belichick has sabotaged. I mean,
listen, it's like a toss of a coin. I'm going with New England. I mean, prayers up to Kendrick Bourne. It's torn ACL. Prayers up to him.
Yeah.
I think he might be a free agent after this season. So hopefully, someone is going to pick him up. I don't think he don't want to go back to New England, but I'm going with the Patriots by 1 point, 22-21.
All right. Bears and Saints, and the Saints are 9.5-point favorites. Harrison?
Do we have to know about this? I mean, we can just move on. I'm going with New Orleans by 40-0.
Champ?
I'm going with the Aints.
And I'm going with the Aints as well. Now this is another this is a really interesting game right here. Seattle versus Baltimore. It's at Baltimore, and the Ravens are 6-point favorites. Champ?
What month is it?
We're in November.
We're in November, man.
Okay. Hey, how many teams can say they can go to Baltimore on a regular basis and beat Baltimore, especially with their defense they got right now? Not many, so I'm going with Baltimore.
Yeah, I really don't like to see. I don't like Geno. It's just something about Geno I just don't like. I just don't like him for some reason. I'm pretty sure after the Comeback Player of the Year award, I just felt like, man, I don't like him ever since. It's just like after being trashed for so long, here you go, you deserve it. So basically, I feel like Saquon should deserve it. I think Saquon deserved that last year, or maybe Christian McCaffrey. But I am going with Lamar Action Jackson on this one. High scoring affair. I think it's gonna be less than 6.5. I'm gonna say 38-35.
And I'm gonna go with Ravens in this one. Now we got Bucks on the road against the Houston Texans. The Texans are 3.5 favorites. I've been telling y'all about CJ, man. Even though he lost to Bryce Young last week, CJ, that truth. He's that dog in him. He's definitely proven critics wrong about OSU quarterbacks. I will agree with Champ from the standpoint amongst them, he was the most prepared one. Because I feel like with the offense and just him in terms of his intangibles, I think CJ Stroud is the truth. But believe it or not, I'm gonna go with the Bucks in this one. I believe the Bucks will actually win this game. I think the Houston Texans have a bright future. But Baker Mayfield, though, no expectations. As long as Baker doesn't have no expectations, and if Tampa's defense can play good enough, I got the Bucks winning this one. But Champ, who do you got?
I'm going with Baker. I got to go with Baker. I want to see him. I want to see him at least go back to the playoff at least one more time in his career. I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan, but watching him play, like I said, my best friend, he is a huge OU fan. Shout out to my boy Kyle. I loved watching Baker Mayfield play. And he put up numbers. I mean, he put up numbers against my Georgia Bulldogs back when we was a stifling defense. So back in, I think, 2016, he
17.
did 17,
Yeah.
So
And you beat us in the college football the semis.
Yeah, that offense with him at the helm, he went first overall for a reason. I mean, and a lot of the stuff is beyond his control. You know, unlike a lot of other quarterbacks, he didn't have any structure. 3 different head coaches, you know, Hugh Jackson, Freddie Kitchens, then going to you play for 3 different head coaches and you have no structure
Kevin
as a quarterback.
Stefanski.
Yes. 3 different quarterbacks, you have no structure. And what's so funny about him being moved is this. I think he'd be doing a better job in Cleveland right now if they still had him. If you really want me to be honest about it. No. They said they wanted an adult. They said they wanted an adult in the building.
You're not reaching, Chip. You're not
they
reaching
said they
at
wanted
all.
an adult in the building. I wanted to, you heard the reporter saying, even, Colin I heard, I want an adult in the building. So
and you bring in Deshaun Watson.
And you bring in Deshaun Watson after he hasn't played for almost 2 years, not to mention the allegations that he had. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't mind being corrected.
Okay.
Since Baker got in the league, has he been in trouble?
Legally, no.
No.
Legally, no. Has he ever got his coach fired?
Yeah.
I'm talking about not by his own.
Are you talking about the Panthers? I was like, yes. I mean, Matt Rule got fired after,
but he was bad before Baker.
I mean, yeah. But has he ever got the coach fired? He had a plethora of bad coaches. Had Hugh Jackson went 0-16 the year before he got there.
They were 1-31.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. So he never got into any legal trouble in Cleveland. In fact, one can say he was a model citizen. Beat Pittsburgh back-to-back weeks on his road to the playoffs.
I mean, a lot of people. A lot of people said that.
With that same type of defense that he has right now.
Oh my God! You're cooking something with no seasoning, man.
So it's safe to say if they would have Baker right now with the talent that they have now, the number 5 defense in the NFL.
Let me picturize this. So if Baker Mayfield was on that team with Amari Cooper, with I forgot who else. Who else do they have besides Amari?
Jacopu. I forget his name. He came from the University of Miami. I can't pronounce his name.
David Njoku.
David Njoku.
Kareem Hunt. If Nick Chubb stay healthy, just in case. O-line's probably top 10, top 5, whatever.
Yeah.
God damn, I hate Baker after what he did to me. Ugh.
And he made the playoffs with a team he made the playoffs with that team. And like I said, if people want to be honest with themselves, the thing that was getting them over the hump that has been keeping them alive these past couple of weeks is that defense. Can you imagine Baker Mayfield being the game manager of that offense with that defense that they have right now?
You know
And
what
Baker, to his credit, has been playing well this season.
He went to Los Angeles and got coached.
Yeah,
People don't
less
wanna-
than 48 hours. Baker Mayfield had a 98-yard game-winning drive against the Raiders. I was like, how
Champ,
the fuck did he do? It's
Champ,
just-
it's interesting that you brought up. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Harrison.
No,
but
no, go ahead. I'm about to.
It's
lose my
interesting that you
shit.
bring up the blatant hypocrisy with people with Baker. You mentioned how the Browns want an adult in the
Yeah.
locker room, but you bring in Deshaun Watson that had numerous allegations of sexual assault, and you paid him $230 million. And you talk about you want an adult.
An adult in the building. And like
And
you mentioned, he had 3 different head coaches going into that final year on his contract. Now you saw what he could do with coaching.
yes,
He was with Sean McVay no less than 48 hours and had a 98-yard drive.
mm-hmm.
That's just like
Got him a new contract.
that was rigged. I feel like after that, the NFL was rigged.
All right, fellas, we got to continue.
Well, okay,
on 'cause
I
got some
gotta do my picks.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Houston Texans. I don't like Baker one bit after what he did to me. He kind of ruined my game when I went to the Cardinals game. He had 9 batted passes. Name a quarterback had 9 batted passes in one game besides Baker Mayfield. I
All
never
right,
had seen that in my entire freaking life.
All right, let's move on to this next game. Harrison, I'm
How
gonna let you
about
go
that,
first.
PSG?
Colts
Uh,
versus
Colts and
my
Panthers?
pick. Yeah, Colts versus Panthers. And the Colts are 2.5-point favorites.
By the way, Justin Houston is on IR. We got fucking 8 players on defense that are hurt. J.C. Horn and Von Bell are gonna be coming back next week on Thursday Night Football against the Chicago Bears. Bryce Young, oh man, I love Bryce. Bryce is my franchise quarterback. I love that man so much. I'm picking Carolina to win this game. I mean, the Colts defense has been brutal. Fucking brutal. But the offense, here's like the number one question if you're a Panther fan right now. How can you stop Zach Moss and JT? That's the number one question right now. I think high scoring affair. I think Bryce Young is gonna outplay Minshew 28-24.
All right, and Champ.
I'll go on a flyer. I'll pick the Panthers.
I'm gonna actually pick the Panthers too. Giants versus Raiders. Least interesting game of the week, and the
Jesus
Raiders
fucking
are
Christ.
1.5-point favorites. I'm gonna go with the Raiders because I've told people before, Josh McDaniels had no business being the head coach. Maybe they'll find a way to win this one. Hey, it may be good for the Raiders because remember, I've said before, Josh McDaniels ain't that type of head coach. Product of the Bill Belichick coaching tree. Just not that type of dude. We saw what he was in Denver, and look. You went up the first week. You went up against Jeff Saturday, who was an interim head coach, had no coaching experience whatsoever, and you lost. So I believe the Raiders may win this one. Champ?
The Raiders versus
Giants.
Giants. And Tyrod Taylor is on injured reserve. So
And Daniel Jones is back.
and Daniel Jones is back.
Sir.
I'll go with the Raiders on this one. New head coach, new philosophy. Everybody seems like everybody in that locker room got a new lease on life right about now. So they're going to be galvanized at least for 1 week.
And
So,
Antonio Pierce, former New York Giant,
yeah,
knows the organization too well.
not to
Yeah.
mention he's from Compton. So
Yep.
Just gonna read that motherfucker like a book, bud. I was like flipping a coin. Do I go with my Duke quarterback or do I go with the home team? Jesus Christ! But Darren Waller is out with I think a hamstring.
yeah,
It's at home. O'Connell, the rookie from Purdue, is gonna be. This is his time to shine if he wants to be the future for the Raiders, which I highly doubt that. I'm pretty sure the Raiders got a tank to get probably Penix or maybe Caleb Williams or maybe Drake May. I'm going with the Raiders on this one, but I think it's a low-scoring ball game. I will probably say 12-10.
All right. Cowboys versus Eagles, and the Eagles are 3-point favorites, and it will be at Lincoln Financial Field.
Ooh.
Now, Champ, you've been on the record criticizing Jalen Hurts, and rightfully so, because of the interceptions and the turnovers. What do you got?
Dallas.
Hmm.
I'm gonna tell you something. Everybody's ripe for a whooping in the middle of the season. And thus far, you've been doing things despite the turnovers, and people haven't really been publicizing the turnovers. So this may be the week that they're ripe to be exposed. So I'm with that reason. I'm going with Dallas.
Harrison?
Okay. It's at home. I'm going with the Eagles. I think Jalen Hurts needs to pick up the pace a lot more. And where the fuck is Devontae Smith at? Where the fuck has he been? Has he been like?
He played well against the Commanders last week.
He played pretty well. It's
Oh
just
yeah,
AJ
I
Brown
forgot.
didn't get
I
all
didn't
the
went
time.
to the game. I was at the game. I didn't watch it. I felt like Devontae Smith was lost.
Okay,
I thought
but
that bro-
Champ,
I
if we're gonna talk about turnovers with Jalen Hurts, are we gonna say that about Dak?
Everybody's. Remember what I said earlier about the Dallas Cowboys?
What'd
You gonna
say?
get talked about if you play for Dallas. They've been talking about that all year. Him and Josh Allen had the most turnovers coming into the season.
Right.
So you play for the Dallas Cowboys, you throw one interception in one game, you go get talked about.
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
I'm
Harrison.
going with the
We're
Eagles.
good.
I'm going with the Eagles. I'm going with the Eagles.
I hate both teams, but I'm leaning towards the Cowboys in this one. Now, do Champ and I think they're gonna compete for a Super Bowl? Nah. They'll win they may win the division. You never know. They may win the division, but that's about it. We don't expect Super Bowls. Bills versus Bengals. This is a very big one. Obviously, you know, the Damar Hamlin. Obviously, what happened with him last year. God bless him. He's doing well now.
Yes.
The Bengals are 2.5-point favorites, and they've looking really solid these past couple of games. And Josh Allen, we just talked about with them turnovers. I'm gonna go with the Bengals.
Where are they playing?
At
Cincy.
Okay, if they was playing in Buffalo, I might have took a turn. But I'm gonna go with Buffalo.
Harrison?
Damn. I'm going with Cincy. I'm going with Joe Shiesty. Oh, by the way, sports talk. You said that. Shout out to him. But you said that the Bengals are still not going to make the playoffs. So a healthy Joe Burrow ain't making the playoffs. Yeah, pretty interesting. But I'm going with a high-scoring ball game. Two great quarterbacks out there. Prayers up to God bless Damar Hamlin. God bless his soul. I know it's gonna be corny as shit, but he might win comeback player of the year after. But is at the same time, does he really like? I'm not trying to be that guy, but does he really like deserves comeback player of the year just after the?
Give it. I think they should get. I don't have a problem if they give it to him.
I mean,
Given what
they
he
can
went
give him
through.
Walter Payton Man of the Year for coming back. I mean,
I'd rather
comeback-
see that, but besides comeback player of the year.
I mean, because you are inspiration for many, but you know we've seen a lot of. We've seen worse make comeback player of the year. We've seen guys come back in the middle of the season after doing terrible for so many years and make comeback player of the year. We've seen worse. So
I'm going with Cincy in a close one, 28-27.
All right. And Chargers versus Jets, and it will be at the Jets. I'm gonna go with the Chargers. They're in the 3.5-point favorites. Champ, I got Chargers. Who do you got?
Chargers versus who again?
Jets, and the Chargers are 3.5-point favorites.
I'm going with the Jets. I'm gonna take the underdog in this game. I think they still holding on, and Zach Wilson is maturing rapidly, man. If anybody deserves comeback player of the year, in my humble opinion, he might not have the stats, but it's Zach Wilson. Because for him to not only mature in such a short period of time, to say I didn't let my defense down when he only had to score maybe a touchdown or to win them the game, to now putting everything on his back with all the pressures that comes along. I think he's going to overcome this, and I think he's doing his damnedest to keep his team in playoff contention.
Harrison,
Champ, I'm going with you, bro. I'm going with the Jets. I'm going with Zach Milf Wilson on this one.
all right. Now, folks, we only got like 20 minutes left of the show, but I'm sorry we couldn't get any more start benches and cuts, but I did come up with some good ones. Now, here's one for WWE. You got the late, great Eddie Guerrero, God rest his soul, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, and Kurt Angle. Champ, who you starting, benching, and cutting?
Ugh.
Yes, I know I'm wrong.
No, you get. I like this one. In my humble opinion, there's no greater performer than Shawn Michaels. None. I mean, the Iron Man match. I know a lot of people's too young to remember that. The Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12. Arguably one of the greatest matches you ever want to see. The ladder match, Hell in a Cell. Those matches are
the last
legendary.
Man standing match.
Yes. I mean, the battles with Triple H, some of the greatest rivalries you ever want to see. So I have to start him. I have to bench Kurt Angle. I understand that people are going to give me heat for that. I got to bench Kurt Angle because he carried TNA, but at his peak, he wasn't as big as Michaels.
Right.
Unfortunately, I have to cut Eddie because his peak was so brief. He was a great wrestler, but his peak was very, very brief. I mean, I think from like 2003 to 2005, and unfortunately, we lost him after that. And we never got a chance to see how great he really, really was. So for that reason, I got to go starting Michaels, benching Kurt. Unfortunately, I hate to say it. Rest in peace to the late great Eddie Guerrero. I gotta cut Eddie Guerrero.
I agree with Champ, only because of longevity. Michaels had the signature WrestleMania moments. Angle, we saw more from him, and yes, he did do a lot for TNA. I'm glad you mentioned about that. Eddie, I will say this: if you want a true underdog story, No Way Out, Eddie Guerrero versus Brock Lesnar back in 2004. That was a hell of a great matchup. I still watch it to this day. It gives me goosebumps. I cry to this day. I mean, he was fun to watch, man. The lie, cheat, and steal, the whips that he was driving with the low riders and the hydraulics. Man, he was something special. But Harrison.
Oh shit! I didn't. Fuck. Yeah. I you know I just don't watch the WWE. I'm not that person. I love sports, don't get me wrong, but like that's just like I'd rather watch the UFC, you know, but I'm going with, you know what? I'll go with you guys. I mean, rest in peace his soul to Eddie Romano. I mean
Guerrero.
Eddie I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm with you, PSP. I'm with you.
All right. And one last one right here. Now, Harrison, you better know this one.
Okay, yes, I know. Okay, first of all, I might go first here.
Go ahead.
I'm cutting Charles Barkley.
Ooh, you gotta put him on the big screen for that one, brother. You gotta put him on the big screen.
Listen, like as a meme type of person, he wasn't that funny to me. I'm talking about the memes.
What?
I'm starting Stephen A. Smith.
Oh man.
And I'm benching Shannon Sharp. It was a toss up. I'm sorry, PSP. I'm sorry, bro.
Champ, I'm gonna let you go. Go, Champ.
Based on their peak, right?
Yes. Or peak prime, however you want to put it.
I'm gonna tell you this. There's no bigger personality at their peak than Charles Barkley when he was at his playing days or now. And I think if he had a talk show, the only thing he doesn't have is a talk show where he can stand out individually.
Right.
So I'm starting Charles Barkley. it's a toss up between Stephen A. and Unc. We won't call him Shannon Sharp no more. We call him Unc.
Yeah.
Because, especially me being from down south, he just add that little extra flavor to it. But when it comes to longevity and being in the game a little bit longer and showing journalists what it means to be what you are, I have to go with Stephen A. And to be honest with you, love Shannon Sharp. He was one of my favorite football players. He played right here in my backyard at Savannah State, played for the Denver Broncos. He's from Georgia, but I can't be biased in my opinion. Stephen A., I mean, he was doing it before the social media age. And when you're big before the social media, remember, quite frankly,
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. How many more memes you see on the internet? Stephen A. Smith or Charles Barkley?
I can't say I go by memes. I go by
memes personally.
But your body of work. I'm old, man. So I'm old, dude.
No, you're not.
I gotta start. Yeah, Harrison, you lose me by cutting Charles Barkley.
Cutting Charles,
If you're talking about like
he's
reporters,
too hysterical, man. I mean, Charles Barkley.
You know what the thing about I don't. You know me. I don't watch the NBA.
You've never watched him talk about the San Antonio women. You
The
never
Phoenix
heard him
Suns?
talking
No.
about the steam
No, I
room
don't.
incident?
I watched this a little bit. I watched some Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp.
I bench Shannon and I cut Stephen A. I used to love Stephen A's work, and he does a lot. He does First Take. He does his podcast. But man, Shannon Sharp, man, his knowledge, his insight. Yes, I get Stephen A. with the journalism, but with Shannon, he brings things in a unique way from a athletic standpoint and perspective. And his podcast, man, I mean, you getting a lot of dudes in your podcast like Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, even Stephen A. Smith, all them cats in your podcast. I always knew Shannon Sharp had the personality to be in media and TV because he could talk trash. Remember, he used to talk a lot of trash back in his days and with the Denver Broncos.
He cost me a Super Bowl, so yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
He cost me a Super Bowl in 1998.
Yeah. And also, too, man, he has a very big personality. He talked about his brother a lot, Sterling Sharp, who I thought had not been for that injury, man, he was on his way to becoming one of the greatest ever. He talked about a lot about his brother, how he said, didn't he say like his brother is like better than him? I'm paraphrasing at the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
He said, I'm the only member of the Hall of Fame. Well, I'm not even the best in my own family.
Yeah. And he talks about his grandmother so much, his upbringing. Shannon is fun to watch, man. He's fun. He's charismatic. The Black and Miles and the Hen Dog and all that other stuff. He needs to start bringing that back, man. Cause
I don't think ESPN gonna let that happen. PSP.
I don't think ESPN will let him do it. Maybe Club Shay Shay, but we'll see. But anyway, folks, that concludes the end of the Sports PSP podcast. Final words, y'all, and tell them where to follow y'all.
Yes.
Oh, you me? Follow me on TikToks right there. Make sure to follow me on Twitter. Panthers on top. Hopefully, we try to get that dub tomorrow.
Champ.
Number 1, go Dogs. Road to the 3-peat continues. Mizzou, we got y'all tonight. Follow me at Undisputed World Champ on TikTok. Not to mention World Champ _2.0 on Instagram.
And he's got a podcast coming out. Don't forget that.
Yeah, podcast will be coming soon. We just getting all the kinks worked out, trying to get everything done, and just learning a little bit more every day about how to do it. I rehearse my videos before I post them, so yeah.
Hey, that's why you one of the best, man.
I appreciate it.
And you know me, Sports PSP. Please go like and subscribe to the Sports PSP podcast. Already 1,000 subscribers. Thank y'all again. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
Also, I do another podcast, Commanders Demand, on the Grid Network, the GRYD Network. Please go like and subscribe to there. Fellas, thank y'all for hopping on the podcast. Enjoy the rest of y'all weekend, everybody. And peace.